Chapter 21. She was locked in Chu Yihan's room. Suing Shua walked into the room with doubts. The luxurious and elegant room had the fragrance of light bamboo leaves. She walked around the screen and saw a hand reaching out from the bed. She sat down and wanted to check that person's pulse. However, just as she pressed her fingers on the wrist, she was pulled into the curtain. Suing Shua was pinned down by someone. She tried her best to prop herself up against the man's chest, and her eyes were filled with disgust. "You're on my bed, and yet you're telling me to scram?" The man's magnetic voice was like a soft snake coiling around Su Yingsha's body. Ninth Prince. Su Yingsha's brain exploded. What kind of plot was this? She was actually tricked into this man's bed? Oh no. He was the one who dragged her to bed. She was not stupid enough to be tricked into bed. But was this the main point? The point was this man shamelessly teased. "Your reaction is a little cute." Cute my foot. Despite her status and upbringing, Suing Shua could not help but curse. "Since you scolded me, you must be prepared to be punished." Through the black veil, Suing Shua saw the dark color in the man's eyes. It was something she did not understand, but it was something she was instinctively afraid of. Only a fool would wait to be punished by him. The smart Suing Shua would naturally negotiate with him directly. "Your Highness, your old injuries have yet to heal. Did you take the medicine I mentioned last time?" Chu Yihan placed his hands on both sides of her head, and half of his weight was on her. Suing Shua gritted her teeth. "Very good, this man was very heavy. That's why you paid a lot of money to invite me over, because something is wrong with your body?" Chu Yihan nodded. "Yes." Every time he said a word, his breath would hit Su Yingsha's face. "So let me treat you, Your Highness." What if he dies if she was too late? Chu Yihan chuckled. "All right. Your Highness, let me get up first. There's no way to treat you like this." Suing Shua struggled to push him away, but she was not surprised to find that she could not move him. Chu Yihan deliberately suppressed her a little more. His low and hoarse laughter carried a hint of disdain. "The medical center has been boasting about you, but now you can't treat patients like that? You should tear down the signboard as soon as possible." Chu Yihan's eyes were still smiling a moment ago, but the next moment, he suddenly stood up and vomited. Suing Shua took the opportunity to jump off the bed. The corners of her mouth curled up into a provocative arc. "Your Highness, are you still going to smash the signboard of the medical center?" Chu Yihan placed his finger on the tip of his nose and frowned slightly. "It's sweet." Suing Shua nodded and smiled. "Your Highness, you took my medicine, so there's the smell of ephedra on your body. The melon stem and ephedra have an extremely good effect on inducing vomiting. Since you have tried it, how do you feel?" "Not bad." Chu Yihan lifted his robe and sat down. He didn't show any anger after being teased by Suing Shua. But Suing Shua was furious. This deception and advantage-taking were forgotten just like that. "Your Highness, when do you plan to return the jade pendant to me?" Su Yingsha's eyes were fixed on Chu Yihan's waist. Chu Yihan held the jade pendant in his hand and gently brushed it with his fingers. His delicate movements were like caressing a woman's skin. There was a hint of laziness on his fairy-like face. "There are no such plans for the time being." Suing Shua smiled. "Very good. Then it's better to find someone else to treat your old illness. This stinky prince can go to hell." Suing Shua suppressed her anger and turned around to leave. Chu Yihan pulled out a handkerchief and said leisurely, "The first daughter of the Marquis Manor tried to harm me. If I were to investigate this matter, it should be fascinating." Su Yingsha's eyes were cold. "Your Highness, you're framing me. Although the medicine you prescribed for me has the effect of healing, it can also weaken my body, allowing you to find an opportunity to steal the jade pendant." Chu Yihan casually exposed Su Yingsha's thoughts. Suing Shua frowned slightly. "So what? You, the dignified ninth prince, stole someone else's jade pendant. Isn't that?" The word shameless was still on the tip of her tongue when Su Yingsha's eyes widened. "Bastard. When did he steal her handkerchief?" Chu Yihan also kept Su Yingsha's handkerchief in his pocket. "It's another matter if I'm shameless, but your handkerchief is an apology to me." "Chu Yihan, give it back to me." Suing Shua could not help but pounce on him. The two people were entangled, but Suing Shua was at a disadvantage. Chu Yihan locked her in his room and let her scream. Su Yingsha's temper. which she had been suppressing for a long time, exploded at Chu Yihan. How long do you want to keep me here? This bastard prince. Chu Yihan's lips curled into a gentle smile when he heard her voice. Mo Chi's mouth twitched as he listened from outside the courtyard. Master, how long do you want to keep Miss Su here? Let her go tomorrow. Can I ask you something? Chu Yihan was in a good mood after deceiving Suingxue. Speak. Aren't you afraid that Miss Su will hate you to death? Who would chase a girl like this? The first time he stole the jade pendant, the second time he locked her in the bedroom, the third time. He really couldn't understand his master's train of thought. Weren't there too many roundabouts? Chu Yihan looked at him with disdain. You don't have a woman you like. How would you understand? Letting a woman stay in a room filled with his scent for a night would definitely leave a deep impression on her heart. Mo Chi lowered his head. If he could, he would never want to know. Afraid of being single for a lifetime. Suingxue gritted her teeth. She had thought of all the possible ways to get out of Chu Yihan's room. She even tore down the roof. She was tired from all this, so she simply fell asleep on Chu Yihan's bed. Marquis Manor, Sunset Court. Su Yuro was grounded as a punishment. She tossed and turned for several nights without a good rest, and her eyes were swollen like 2 walnuts. Yuan Rua brought over breakfast. Su Yuro was disgusted by it. What is this? There's not even any meat or fish. I don't want to eat it. Miss, this is the Marquis order. He said that your body is not well, and that you should have a light diet. Does father not dote on me anymore? Suingxue was eating well, but I have to eat this. Looking at the plain porridge and side dishes, Su Yuro became even angrier. However, something suddenly flashed across her mind, and she curled her lips evilly. That's right. My good sister doesn't need to eat plain porridge and side dishes now. Wouldn't it be good if I went to eat some of hers? She asked Yuan Rua to fetch some food from the kitchen, and brought it to Su Yingxi's courtyard. She wanted to torture her with breakfast, but when she reached the door, she realized that the courtyard door was closed, and it was quiet inside. She instructed Yuan Rua to knock on the door. Old Madame Zhang came to open the door, and looked at her warily, saying that the young lady had not gotten up yet. Su Yuro observed from the side, and asked around in the Marquis manner. She came to a conclusion. Suingxue did not return to the residence last night. Yuan Rua heard the news and quickly smiled and said, Miss, she did not return for the night. She must be doing something shameful outside. Let's hurry and inform the Marquis. This time, the Marquis will definitely punish her severely. Su Yuro was overwhelmed with joy and hurried toward Su Dingheng's courtyard. However, before she could step in, her face immediately turned cold. No, only father's punishment is not enough. Chapter 22. Wronged her for committing adultery. Suingxue slept all the way until daybreak. She escaped without much effort, and did not meet any guards. As she walked out of the imperial residence, she could not help but curse Chu Yihan. Crazy. Why didn't Manager Qi find out who the patient was before collecting the consultation fee? She returned to the medical center, and reprimanded Manager Qi sternly. In the future, you must let me know the identities of all the patients who want to see a doctor, no matter who they are. Otherwise, I won't go no matter how expensive the fee is. When Manager Qi saw Su Yingxi's angry face, he blamed himself. It's all my fault for not checking properly. Miss, you were trapped in the imperial residence last night. Did anything happen? If something happened to her, he would not be able to face his old master, even if he had to die to apologize. Su Yingxi's anger was hard to quell, but she did not flare up in front of Manager Qi. It's fine. Manager Qi patted his chest and felt relieved. However, he suddenly frowned. Miss, the 9th prince targeted you. He won't bring trouble to you, will he? Since he already knew about your identity, then the medical center. Thinking about the 9th imperial uncle's style of doing things, Manager Qi shivered. Su Yingxi's brows were tightly knitted together. Chu Yihan might have targeted her, and wanted to deal with her, but he would not attack the center. With his identity and methods, if he wanted to attack the center, it would have been razed to the ground last night. Now that we are still standing here, it means that he won't keep an eye on this place. Raised in a family of generals, Su Yingxue was especially clear that a decisive person on the battlefield would not show mercy to anyone he did not like. The medical center was fine, but she was the one in trouble. Forget it. I'll return to the residence first. Be careful next time. Su Yingxue instructed with a dark face, and immediately rushed back to the Marquis Manor. She had not returned for the entire night. If she was discovered, she did not know how much trouble she would cause. However, when she went out, she met Wu Jinyan again. She was here to apply for a job. The clerk in the hall did not know Su Yingxue's instructions, so he said, "Miss, I'm really sorry. We already have enough manpower. You should go to another center to take a look." But this advertisement was only published yesterday. Wu Jinyan handed the advertisement to the clerk. The clerk was confused. Su Yingxue lifted the curtain and walked out. "We're still recruiting people, but I don't know what you can do." Wu Jinyan's watery almond-shaped eyes flashed with surprise. "Miss Su, this center is—" "I run it," Su Yingxue said frankly. Wu Jinyan could not help but laugh. "Miss Su is indeed capable. I was rude. Goodbye." Wu Jinyan turned around to leave. She was dressed plainly, but Su Yingxue could see the scars on her arm through her thin clothes. It didn't seem shallow. "Wait a minute. Miss Wu, aren't you here to apply for a job? Why are you leaving after seeing me? Do you think he'll let you in through the back door for my brother's sake?" Su Yingxue's voice carried a hint of mockery. Wu Jinyan stopped in her tracks. Her expression was indifferent, but she was neither arrogant nor humble. "Miss Su, I know you won't, and am not hiding from you. It's just that I really need a job. But this has nothing to do with Brother Hao. It has nothing to do with General Su, so I won't trouble you. What can you do?" Su Yingxue sized her up, and did not seem to care about her explanation. Wu Jinyan had a delicate face. She stood in front of Su Yingxue and said calmly, "I'm good at acupuncture and fragrance. I know a little about medicinal herbs, and can do manual labor." Su Yingxue touched her own chin. "But you're the daughter of the minister's estate. If the minister finds out and blames you, what will happen to the medical center?" Wu Jinyan smiled. "Miss Su, you're the daughter of a general. Why would you be afraid of the minister? Although I'm a girl, I'm working with dignity. What does it have to do with others? Why should I blame you?" She was dignified and elegant, beautiful and refined. Wu Jinyan's status was not high, but her temperament was admirable. Su Yingxue nodded. "Miss Wu, since you need a job, my clinic happens to be lacking people. If you're willing, you can start work as soon as possible. However, your treatment is no different from others." "Of course, I will do more for the center." Wu Jinyan didn't hesitate. Su Yingxue had given her this opportunity, so she accepted her kindness. The clerk brought Wu Jinyan to the backyard and assigned her uniform and work. Manager Qi had been listening and said carefully, "Miss, I will take good care of Miss Wu." Su Yingxue nodded. "Give her some ointment made from the blood-clotting grass." "Oh right, you said that she often goes to Fufeng Center. What's that place?" Manager Qi replied, "That place is specially used to take in the old, weak and young. Although the imperial court has allocated money, corrupt officials will not pity the poor and the weak. Miss Wu's mother grew up in Fufeng Center. Miss Wu takes special care of the old, weak, and children in that place. She is not rich to begin with. Now that she has come out to find work, she must be doing it for those people." Su Yingxue's impression of Wu Jinyan became even better. Only a kind person would love her brother with all their heart. When she rushed back to the Marquis Manor, she heard many gossips. She did not return for the entire night, and everyone was spreading rumors that she had an affair with someone. Until she reached the courtyard entrance, old Madame Zhang had been strolling in the Marquis Manor, waiting for her return. Once she saw her, old Madame Zhang pulled her over and told her everything. Su Yingxue curled her lips in disbelief. It's really hard for her to have such thoughts. She had slept in Chu Yihan's residence for a night. She didn't know when Su Yuro had become a storyteller, and was so good at spinning stories. "You unfilial daughter, hurry up and get in." Su Dingheng's furious roar was accompanied by the sound of cups shattering. Su Yingxue slowly walked in. "Father, your body isn't well. Don't always lose your temper. You did such a shameless thing, and still care about my health? You're simply infuriating me." Su Dingheng was about to beat her with a whip. The whip was made of rattan, and it was full of thorns. When the whip hit a person's body, the skin and flesh would definitely split open. Yuan Xiang was beaten to death by this rattan whip. Su Dingheng did not hit her the first time. When he raised the whip again, Su Hao's deep voice sounded. "Father, stop!" Su Dingheng put down the whip and snorted coldly. "You came just in time. Do you know what shameful things your sister has done? It's useless even if you protect her." Su Hao stood in front of Su Yingxue and said righteously, "My sister is obedient and sensible. She won't make mistakes easily. Even if she did, she was framed." He looked at Su Yuro with a sharp gaze. Su Yuro's heart trembled. She quickly moved to Su Dingheng's side and used a handkerchief to wipe away her non-existent tears. "Father, I know that eldest brother doesn't like me, but I'm only thinking for older sister. How could I possibly harm her?" "That's right. Besides, what does this have to do with you? If you hadn't come to look for her to have breakfast and met that thief, I still wouldn't know that my daughter is actually having an affair with the guards in the residence. It's simply an insult to the family." Su Dingheng scolded Su Yingxue, as if it was a matter of course, and protected Su Yuro as well. Chapter 23. She can't take the blame alone. The tied-up man at the side begged for mercy. "Marquis, Miss and I couldn't help ourselves. We truly love each other, so please don't blame Mississippi. If you want to blame someone, blame me." "Shut up, bastard." Su Dingheng did not hit Su Yingxue with the whip, but instead, it hit Lu Li. He was originally just a guard in the residence, so he naturally did not dare to hide. His originally loose clothes were torn open with a whip, revealing the ambiguous marks on his body. From time to time, he would steal a glance at Su Yingxue. His eyes were filled with affection, as if the two of them had long had an affair. The corners of Su Yingxue's mouth curled up into a mocking arc. "Sister, you're really thoughtful. Why did you have to come to have breakfast with me today and bump into my adulterer? Sister, why must you do this? If you truly love each other, Daddy might agree to it, but you had an affair instead." Su Yuro didn't dare to say anything else, but she confirmed the accusation of adultery. "I don't need father to agree with my relationship. Besides, I've never even seen this person that I'm having an affair with," Su Yingxue said lazily. However, Su Hao's words were sonorous. "Father, did you hear that? My sister had never seen this person before. So how could she have an affair with him? Miss, I don't blame you for not admitting your feelings for me. I know that my status is low and am not worthy of you, but am sincere to you. Last night, you were lying in my arms and said that you would be with me for the rest of your life." Lu Li's eyes were red, as if he was deeply in love with Su Yingxue. "I'm sorry, this is the first time I've seen you today. I'm afraid you've remembered the wrong person that lay in your arms, right?" Su Yingxue walked to Lu Li's side, took out a low-quality sachet from his arms, then held it up. This kind of stitching technique is crude. Most of them are given to their customers by the women of the Qin Pavilion and Chu Pavilion. She lifted Lu Li's chin with one hand. "Your eyes are sunken and your face is pale. I can tell that you've been indulging in sex all year round and are plagued by illness. Even if I'm mentally retarded, I wouldn't choose someone like you to have an affair, right?" Lu Li immediately lowered his head guiltily. Su Yingxue walked slowly to Su Dingheng and sighed. "Father, you actually believed such an ordinary scam?" Su Dingheng's facial muscles trembled. Every word Su Yingxue said made it clear to him that this was a scam. But how was he going to hide his embarrassment? He was angry about this matter, and ran to her courtyard in a big fuss. Was he supposed to apologize to his daughter as a father? Su Dingheng chose not to believe Su Yingxue. He was stubborn. "Even so, you can't prove your innocence. It's a fact that you didn't return last night. Even if it wasn't Lu Li, it must also be something shameful. Otherwise, tell me, where did you go last night?" Su Yingxue really wanted to let her father have a taste of society's beating. If she could tell him, she would have told him that she slept on Chu Yihan's bed last night. "That's right, sister. If you weren't with Lu Li last night, who were you with? The night is long, and I'm worried that something will happen to you." Su Yuro sobbed. Her eyes were red and tears flowed out of them. "This isn't within my sister's jurisdiction." Su Yingxue's face was cold, and her eyes were filled with mockery and arrogance. Then as a father, can I do anything about it? Su Yingxue, if you don't tell me today, I will treat it as you having an affair with this person, and chase you all out of the Marquis manor. Su Dingheng slammed the table and roared. Father, don't act rashly. Su Hao protected Su Yingxue. Sister, don't worry. With me here, I will definitely not let anyone hurt you. He was about to call Xu Yan. Men, bring this person away for interrogation and see who instructed him. Su Yuro bit her lip fiercely. What if Su Hao found out something? She immediately held onto Su Dingheng's arm and pretended to plead for mercy. Father, I beg you to let sister off this time. Even if she had an affair with someone and lost her virginity, you cannot chase her out of the Marquis manor. She looked weak, but her crying was not soft. It could be heard both inside and outside the courtyard. Su Yingxue didn't intend to say it, but Su Yuro was acting so seriously, so she said frankly, Sister, you're shouting so loudly because you want the ninth prince to hear that you're accusing me? The ninth prince. The ninth prince. Su Yuro and Su Dingheng were both stunned. Even Su Hao stared at her. Sister, what does it have to do with the ninth prince? Could it be that last night? That's right, the ninth prince can testify for me. I didn't have an affair with anyone last night. Su Yingxue's gaze was calm, and it was as if there were thousands of stars in her eyes. Su Hao pursed his lips. Then I will go and invite His Highness for you now. He will definitely prove your innocence. Wait, you. How could you be so shameless as to get close to the ninth prince? Don't you have any shame? Su Dingheng's face was burning red. When he thought of Chu Yihan, he was both respectful and afraid, especially when he saw Chu Yihan's cold gaze. He did not even dare to look him in the eye. Sister, don't speak nonsense. Your affair is a small matter, but if you disturb the ninth prince, you will implicate the entire Marquis manor. Su Yuro looked afraid on the surface, but she was already gnashing her teeth in her heart. She didn't believe it. She wouldn't believe it no matter what. How could Su Yingxue be related to the ninth prince? Even if the ninth prince had given her ginseng for the sake of that old man, the ninth prince was so elegant, good-looking, and had a noble status. How could he take a fancy to an idiot with a bad reputation? I don't know if I will implicate the Marquis manor, but those who want to frame me will definitely not have a good ending. Su Yingxue's gaze was as sharp as a knife. If these people wanted to smear her innocence, they had to see if she had the attributes of a pushover. She saw through Su Yuro's jealousy and Su Dingheng's fear and threatened. Father, if you don't believe me, you can ask my brother to invite the ninth prince for me. You can ask the ninth prince to see if I had an affair with someone last night. Stop. Stop. You unfilial daughter. What were you doing in the ninth prince's mansion? Su Dingheng quickly stopped her. This great Buddha was not easy to invite. There was a danger of him being reduced to ashes. Of course, it was to diagnose a disease. His Highness has been fighting for many years, and is plagued by old illnesses. Su Yingxue stated the facts. She also hid a part of Chu Yihan's shameless actions. Sister, when did you learn medical skills, and when did you catch the ninth prince's attention? Su Yuro bit her lips, and the jealousy in her heart was about to burst out. Sister, since you have so many questions, I better invite the ninth prince. Su Yingxue had an indifferent expression. Su Dingheng was so frightened that he could not speak properly. Come back. What do you mean by inviting the ninth prince? Since you went there for a diagnosis, you could have just said it. In the end, he was afraid of the might of the heavens. Su Dingheng had no choice but to grit his teeth and believe in Su Yingxue. Father believes me now. Then how should we deal with Luli? Su Yingxue raised her eyebrows and wanted to watch a good show. Chapter 24. Su Yuro makes a fool of herself. Luli felt a gust of cold wind blow at him. He insisted. Marquis, I truly like Miss. Shut up. How dare you say such words? Men, chase him out of the Marquis manor. Su Dingheng was embarrassed and angry, and he could only vent all his anger on him. Marquis, I truly like. Wait. Before Luli was pulled out, Su Yingxue walked up to him and looked down at him. You said that you really like me. Do you know what my nickname is? Luli rolled his eyes. Schwer. Miss, when I was with you, You said that you liked it when I call you like this. My younger sister doesn't have a nickname. Su Hao's face was cold, and his clear eyes released a cold, killing intent. You've never seen my younger sister before. Who instructed you to slander her? Lu Li's heart skipped a beat as he subconsciously looked at Su Yuro. Su Yuro quickly hid behind Su Dingheng and sobbed weakly. Su Hao immediately wanted to interrogate Lu Li, but Su Dingheng stopped him. Enough. Isn't this embarrassing enough? Quickly chase him out of the Marquis manor. Father, sister has been framed. We must prove her innocence and find the person behind it. Su Hao couldn't tolerate it. Su Yuro looked at Su Hao timidly, her eyes suffused with a gentle light. Father, I'm so envious of sister. Big brother is so protective of her, and he can't bear to let her suffer even a little grievance. If this happened to me, I wonder if big brother would protect me like this. Ruer, with daddy here, I won't let anyone bully you like this. When Su Dingheng saw her cry, his heart ached for his precious daughter. He wasn't stupid. He could guess what had happened today. However, how could he bear to expose Su Yuro and let her be punished? He had a serious look on his face. That's enough. If she had obediently stayed in the residence and not gone out to show her face, how could such a thing have happened? In the end, even if your sister was wronged, it's all her fault for not loving herself. Father, what are you talking about? Even though Su Hao had a good temper, he was so angry that his face turned ashen. To prevent him from having a conflict with Su Dingheng, Su Yingxue held his arm. Brother, father is right. I didn't tell him in advance. The next time the 9th prince asks me to treat him, I will definitely let father know. Su Dingheng held his breath. She still dared to go to the 9th prince's place. She was deliberately angering him to death. Father, anger hurts the liver. Why don't you finish your breakfast at my place before leaving? Anyway, Yuro came to look for me for breakfast. Su Yingxue raised her eyebrows at Su Yuro. Su Yuro obediently agreed. When Su Yingxue walked past her, she did not notice it at all. However, Su Yingxue had long smelled it, and conveniently pulled out the laxative from her waist. Breakfast was served on the table. Su Yuro never expected Su Yingxue to eat so well. Bird's nest and white fungus porridge, 8 treasures candy duck, and stewed codfish with silver thread. It was even more sumptuous than the banquet of the Marquis manor. Recalling the few plates of porridge and side dishes she had in the morning, the jealousy in Su Yuro's heart erupted like a volcano. But in front of everyone, she had to endure it with all her might. Su Dingheng's brows were also tightly furrowed. Who gave you the money to buy these things? He, the Marquis, could not even afford to eat all these delicacies. But Su Yingxue had a normal expression. Su Yingxue's tone was calm. I didn't steal or snatch it. Father, don't worry. Bastard. Since you have so much silver, why don't you give it to me to keep for you? The anger in Su Dingheng's heart burned. He had been in charge of the Marquis manor's accounts all these years, and had moved quite a bit into his own private treasury. He did not expect that Su Yingxue still had money in her hands, and had not given him any out of respect. Do I have to give every cent I have to you? Moreover, Mother had given me 10 shops, I gave Father 9, and 6 of them had closed down. Father, your ability is limited, it's better not to trouble you. Su Yingxue ate the bird's nest calmly, completely ignoring the fact that she had slapped Su Dingheng's face. Su Dingheng was filled with anger. He flicked his sleeves and left. He had made up his mind that when Su Yingxue was not around, he would definitely investigate properly. Where did she get so much money? Su Yuro also left. Su Hao frowned deeply and punched the table. Father is too much. He even wanted to scheme against his sister's money. Brother, listen. Su Yingxue put her index finger to her lips, and a hint of craftiness flashed across her eyes. Su Hao held his breath, and suddenly heard a puff-puff sound coming from the courtyard. Su Yuro immediately shouted, Ah! How could this be? My dress! There was another series of puffing sounds. Su Yuro screamed, covered her face and ran away. Jilan rushed in with a smile. Miss Yuro, she ha. The corners of Su Yingxue's mouth curled up, and the smile reached her eyes. Su Hao guessed what had happened. He was originally a little embarrassed, but when he saw Su Yingxue smile, he felt very comforted. The 9th prince's mansion. Mochi captured Luli and brought him back to the prince's mansion. At the same time, he told Chu Yihan everything that had happened in the Marquis manor that he had seen from the roof. Chu Yihan used Su Yingxi's handkerchief to wrap the jade pendant. His eyes were cold like ice that would not melt for thousands of years. He opened his thin lips and spat out a single word coldly, kill. Before Luli could beg for mercy, he rolled his eyes and fell to the ground. Su Hao rested at home for a few days. When the day of the conferment arrived, he had to go to the military camp. He was worried about Su Yingxue. In order to make him feel at ease, Su Yingxue brought him to the medical center. In the back hall of the center, Su Hao looked surprised. This is the shop that mother left for you? That's right. Look at how I managed the business. Su Yingxue was a little proud, and Su Hao was very pleased. It's doing very well. His sister had surprised him again. What surprised him even more was the busy figure in front of the spice and herb counter. Wu Jinyan was dressed in a sky-blue traditional dress. She was smiling as she explained the usage of the medicine to a woman. Su Hao rushed to her like a young boy, his eyes full of joy. Yenna, why are you here? Little girl, this must be your husband. He's so handsome. The two of you are so compatible. The woman covered her mouth and laughed, then took the medicine and left. Wu Jinyan looked at Su Hao with a smile and said in a gentle voice, I work here, Miss Su. She treats me very well. Work? Does your father know? Did your family make things difficult for you? Su Hao's heart was in a mess. He knew that Wu Jinyan was having a hard time at home. Now that she came out to work in public, he was afraid that her days became even harder. No, I'm fine. The smile on Wu Jinyan's face was as warm as a warm breeze. Chapter 25. Wu Jinyan knew that Su Hao was worried about her situation at home, so she tried her best to comfort him. My father never cared about what I did. As long as I don't embarrass the minister's estate, no one will stop me. But you have to work here during the day and go to Fufeng Center at night. Isn't it too tiring? For the first time, Su Hao felt that he was useless. His heart ached for Wu Jinyan, but he didn't know how he could help her. Yenner, if you're willing, brother. Su Yingxue interrupted Su Hao's words and pulled him to the side. Wu Jinyan was about to prescribe medicine to the patient. Su Hao's words, which he had prepared for a long time, were interrupted. There was a trace of heaviness between his brows. Sister, why don't you let me say it? I want to marry her, and let her live a stable life. Brother, if you ask her to marry you now, I'm afraid she won't have a peaceful life in the future. Moreover, she won't see you again. Su Yingxue shook her head. With her brother's EQ, he would need her help to get together with Wu Jinyan. Why? She's living such a hard life now. Don't tell me you think that being the young madam of the Marquis manor isn't tough? She had no family background and capital to rely on, so how could her days in the Marquis manor be easy? And do you think father will agree to you marrying her? Su Yingxue thought that her brother understood what she meant. Su Hao's heart became heavier. If I could set up another residence, she wouldn't have to lead such a tough life. Brother, you grew up in the military camp, so you don't understand how difficult it is for a woman to survive. Miss Wu has been through a lot since she was young. It's already not easy for her to get to where she is today with her own wisdom. Instead of marrying her and giving her a comfortable life, it's better to let her develop her own skills and have enough strength to marry you openly. Su Yingxue's eyes were bright and beautiful, like the sunshine in spring. It wasn't that Su Hao hadn't thought about her words. This path is too difficult. I don't want her to work so hard. But brother, you're always on the battlefield. How can you be by her side all the time? Su Yingxue's eyebrows twitched. Su Hao was instantly speechless and a little depressed. I really can't do it. But I think Miss Wu can do it, Su Yingxue said firmly. When Su Hao came out from the back hall again, his expression was much more relaxed. There was a bright smile on his handsome face. Yenner, I will come to see you again. You, take good care of yourself. Wu Jinyan lowered her head shyly, and her voice was extremely gentle. Yes, the sachet from last time. I bring it with me every day. Su Hao quickly took out the sachet from his pocket and showed it to her, then put it away like a treasure. Wu Jinyan felt a warm current in her heart. She was extremely touched. What she was afraid of was not the difference in status between her and Su Hao. What she cared about was his feelings for her. She knew that he cherished it very much. This was enough to support her through every day's tiring and difficult life. At the Marquis Manor, Suyuro soiled herself. Not only was her image ruined, but she was also extremely uncomfortable. When she came back, she realized that the laxative on her waist was gone. When she was lying on the bed weakly, she even called out hatefully, "Suing Xue, you harmed me." She instructed Yuan Rua to look for Su Jinxian and ask him to investigate Suing Xue. She had to find out what she had been doing recently based on her whereabouts. When Su Jinxian sent the news back, Suyuro was still so weak that she couldn't even get out of bed. When she found out that Suing Xue had opened Tongchang Medical Center, her eyes flashed with ruthlessness. "Yuan Rua, pass my message to Jinxian." She wanted Su Yingxi's medical center to close down. Suing Xue went out to treat patients for a few days in a row and cured the long-term illnesses of a few wealthy families. She received a lot of remuneration and gifts. Manager Qi flipped through the account book with a happy expression. "In less than half a month, we've made tens of thousands of taels of silver. Miss is really amazing." Suing Xue nodded. "With the capital we can do more things." "Miss, what else do you want to do?" Manager Qi was very excited. He felt that Suing Xue could bring more surprises and incredulity. Suing Xue opened the window and pointed at the building across the street. "Get that building and ask Miss Wu if she's willing to." Before she could finish speaking, there was a commotion downstairs. A group of strong men rushed into the medical center. The leader slammed a bag of medicine on the table and shouted, "What medical center is this? I ate your medicine, and my condition has worsened. Are you trying to kill me?" Manager Qi hurriedly went downstairs and walked in front of him. "Sir, let's talk things out. If you feel that the medicine is not good, you can ask the doctor to take your pulse again and prescribe new medicine for you." Bang! The man gave Manager Qi a punch and knocked him to the ground. Then, he waved his hand and ordered his brothers behind him, "Hit him. Smash it. Smash this black-hearted clinic, and don't let them continue to harm people." The clinic was full of patients. When they saw this scene, they all ran out of the clinic. The man in the lead picked up Manager Qi, but before he could do anything, he was hit by a teapot. He flew out and sank into the wall. The brothers behind him were shocked. They followed the trail of the teapot and looked up the stairs. Suing Xue was dressed in a red tight-fitting outfit. Her long hair fluttered in the wind, and she looked heroic. On her beautiful face, there was an unattainable coldness. She looked at her hand with a hint of disgust in her eyes. "This strength, isn't this a little too abnormal?" Little Ginseng's lazy and crisp voice sounded. "If you don't want it, you can return it to me. Hurry up and take care of those people." Suing Xue slowly walked downstairs. "You're just here to watch the show." Usually it kept quiet. "Nonsense, if you don't fight, who will come out and watch? Who doesn't like to sleep? Isn't it nice to see a fight? Of course it is, quickly fight." Roar. The man in the wall was pulled out. He clutched his aching chest and coughed heavily. "You, woman, I'm going to beat you to death." Su Yingxi's expression was cold. Her red lips curled up slightly as she spat out two arrogant and cold words. "Come over." "Ah." Bang bang bang. "It hurts." Miserable cries rose and fell. Within the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, all the troublemakers had fallen to the ground. Suing Xue stepped on the man in the lead and ordered Manager Qi, "Inform the government office that someone is causing trouble." "Yes, miss." Manager Qi supported himself with his hands on his waist as he instructed the people. However, before the people from the government office arrived, this group of people had already run away. Suing Xue did not stop them on purpose. After the people from the government office arrived, she cooperated and recorded their statements before tidying up the clinic. Manager Qi rubbed his aching waist and was very puzzled. Who is targeting the medical center? Suing Xue frowned slightly. Those people are burly and their martial arts aren't weak. They are soldiers. Soldiers? Why would our center offend them? Manager Qi did not understand, but what surprised him even more was, "Miss, you are indeed the tigress of the family of generals. Your skills are extraordinary." The corners of Su Yingshi's lips twitched, but she did not say that it was all thanks to the little ginseng. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 26. Lift the ban on the medical center. As for the people who came to smash the medical center today, she had to investigate them carefully. She told Su Hao about this. When Su Yuro received Su Jingshuan's message, she found out that not only did their people not destroy the center, but they were also taught a lesson by suing Xue. She gritted her teeth in anger and casually smashed a valuable jade piece. Yuan Ruo was a little anxious for her. Miss, we can't go on like this. If suing Xue comes to deal with us after she has money and power, your days will be even worse. As Su Yuris maid, she was also thinking for herself. If Su Yuris' status in the Marquis Manor fell, she would not have a good life. Su Yuris' face darkened. Of course I know. However, she couldn't personally come out and ruin Su Yingshi's reputation. Only her father Su Dingheng could take on the role of the bad guy. Su Dingheng soon heard the news of Su Yingxue beating someone up on the street. Especially after he found out how big the medical center was. Su Dingheng was so angry that his face turned green. This unfilial daughter has such a big medical center in her hands. And she didn't hand it over to me. Does she still think of me as her father? Father, don't be angry over such a small matter. The money that sister earns is definitely used to show filial piety to you. Su Yuro was very understanding, comforting Su Dingheng with a gentle voice. Su Dingheng felt gratified. Ruo, you're the most filial. Unlike your sister, that rebellious daughter, who acts behind my back. If she doesn't hand over the money she earns to me, her father, she will be committing treason. Su Dingheng waited until the evening, when Su Yingxue came back. He told her to hand over all the income of the medical center to him, and let him manage it. Su Yingxue had a mocking look on her face. Father, if you can manage the shop that I gave you before, you won't have to think about the medical center's revenue. What are you talking about? You're my daughter, so the money you earn, isn't it mine? Su Dingheng was confident, and wanted to control Su Yingxue to satisfy his greed. Then why didn't you think that I was your daughter when you hit me in the past? Did you give me something good? Or did you dote on me before? The corners of Su Yingshi's mouth curled up into a mocking arc. Su Dingheng's face instantly turned red. He raised his hand, wanting to slap Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue raised her beautiful face, and a cold glint flowed in her eyes, causing Su Dingheng's hand to stop in midair. Her terrifying gaze made Su Dingheng hesitate. After hesitating for a moment, Su Yingxue left. She still had patience to see tomorrow, and did not want to waste time with Su Dingheng. Su Dingheng scolded her as she walked away. Bastard! Unfilial daughter! You're disobedient and unfilial. Daddy, don't be angry. Rua's heart would ache. Su Yuro displayed her filial piety at the perfect time. With this comparison, Su Dingheng gritted his teeth in hatred towards Su Yingxue. I must take over her medical center tomorrow. How could he let Su Yingxue have such a profitable business? Father, I'm afraid it won't be that easy. There are rumors on the streets today that sister's martial arts are very strong, and she defeated many innocent people with her bare hands. Su Yuris' moist eyes revealed a hint of timidity. Su Dingheng also frowned. I don't know when this unfilial daughter learned martial arts, but how could I be afraid of her? Daddy, I don't want you to ruin your health due to anger. If you want to take back the medical center, why don't you send someone to watch over the medical center first, and stop it from operating for the time being? After discussing it with sister, you will personally send someone to take over. Su Yuris' pure and flawless eyes glistened with tears. She was gentle and considerate. Su Dingheng smiled and nodded. That's a good idea. The next morning, he sent the soldiers of the Marquis Manor to surround the medical center. No one was allowed to enter or leave, and they were not allowed to operate the center. Many patients were blocked outside the door inside. Manager Qi wanted to communicate with this group of people, but they didn't speak at all. As long as they dared to take a step forward, they would be beaten and scolded at will. Early in the morning, Wu Jinyan was very worried when she saw that the center was surrounded and Manager Qi and the others were trapped inside. Manager Qi saw her in the crowd and shook his head at her, indicating for her not to get close to her in case she was caught. He then pointed at the backyard. Wu Jinyan went around to the backyard, and Manager Qi threw a note out from the crack in the door. Wu Jinyan saw the words written on it. Beijing Governor Liang's Manor. Looking for Mississippi. Wu Jinyan rushed to the Liang Manor. She could not enter, and could only wait outside the door. 2 hours later, Su Yingxue, who was wearing a black veil and a bamboo hat, came out. Wu Jinyan quickly told her what had happened. Su Yingxue frowned, and was about to rush back to the medical center when Wu Jinyan stopped her. Those are people from the Marquis Manor. Have you thought about how to deal with them? How do you know it's someone from the Marquis Manor? A hint of surprise flashed across Su Yingxue's eyes. They are dressed like soldiers from the Marquis Manor, but there are only 2 Marquis Manor in Jiangdu City that are qualified to keep soldiers. The other old marquis wouldn't target our medical center for no reason, right? Wu Jinyan frowned slightly. She was observant and meticulous. Su Yingxue paced back and forth for 2 steps, then turned around to look at the horizontal board of the Liang Manor. She went to a secluded place, went into the Medicine King Valley to get some medicine, and then returned to the Liang Manor. She treated Mrs. Liang's hidden illness, and the effect was excellent. When Mrs. Liang saw that she had returned, she welcomed her with a smile. Did you leave something behind? Su Yingxue's tone carried a trace of regret. Madam, I'm here to leave medicine for you. Didn't you already prescribe 7 days' worth of medicine? Mrs. Liang asked curiously. I'll leave all the medicine I brought, just in case I can't treat you in the future, and your recovery gets delayed. Su Yingxue sighed softly. Why? Could it be that you're in some kind of trouble? Or are you going to travel around? Mrs. Liang became nervous. Her hidden illness had not recovered for many years. After Su Yingxue's treatment, she recovered a lot. If she could not treat her anymore, she would have to suffer again. Su Yingxue's tone was filled with regret and helplessness. I was originally a doctor at Tongchang Medical Center. Now that the medical center has been banned for some reason, I can only leave Jiangdu City. Who is so bold as to seal up the medical center for no reason? Mrs. Liang had a noble status, so she was angry when she heard that. Don't be afraid. I'll immediately ask my husband to resolve this matter. Su Yingxue brought Wu Jinyan back to the manor, and saw Liang Jin enter the manor with her own eyes. When Su Dingheng heard the servant's report, he was extremely puzzled. Why is he here? He had never had much of a relationship with Liang Jin, and Liang Jin was an upright person. He never came to the palace for no reason, so why would he suddenly come to the Marquis Manor? Su Dingheng did not have a military position, and had been a civil official for many years. He was still very tactful in dealing with people. He invited Liang Jin to the main hall, and used the most expensive snow sprout to entertain him. Chapter 27. Smashing Su Dingheng's courtyard. The fragrance of tea filled the air in the hall, but Liang Jin's expression did not improve. He coldly said, Marquis, do you treat me as non-existent? Su Dingheng was stunned, thinking that he had never offended Liang Jin. Lord Liang, what are you saying? We are officials of the same dynasty. I have always respected you. Marquis, you're respecting me while knowingly breaking the law. Tongchang Medical Center is operating with sincerity, but you sent soldiers to guard it and forbade it from opening. Do you know how many patients' illnesses have been delayed? Liang Jin asked with a stern face. Where did this come from? Lord Liang, you might not know this, but Tongchang Medical Center is opened by my unfilial daughter, Su Yingxue. She refused to hand over the medical center to me, so I came up with this plan. She's just a girl who hasn't seen the world. How can she manage the medical center well? Su Dingheng's heart was burning with rage. He didn't expect Liang Jin to find trouble with him because of this. At the same time, he scolded Su Yingxue several times in his heart. Miss Su's management of the medical center is not necessarily worse than yours, right? Liang Jin's eyes were filled with mockery. He took out a stack of complaints. This is the debt owed by the shop that you have closed down. The complaint was lodged by the commoners. Marquis, you mismanaged the business, resulting in losses, and yet you still have the cheek to ask for your daughter's medical center? Liang Jin's expression and words were harsh, and what he said scratched off a layer of Su Dingheng's shamelessness. Su Dingheng was both embarrassed and annoyed. What does these two things have to do with each other? I will return this money. When will you return it? Give me a word. Next time, when the court opens for a trial, I will have an explanation for the people. Liang Jin snorted coldly. I said I will return it. Lord Liang, why are you so aggressive? Tens of thousands of taels of silver. Wouldn't it feel good to have them on him? Why should it be given to those lowly commoners? Liang Jin had always looked down on Su Dingheng, and did not hide the mockery in his eyes. Marquis, I advise you to withdraw those people as soon as possible. Otherwise, I will invite you to the capital governor's manor at any time to calculate the compensation for the people. Liang Jin, you're going too far. Su Dingheng smashed the teacup, his face ashen. Marquis Su, I'm just discussing the matter. Are you going to withdraw the soldiers of the Marquis manor or not? Liang Jin glared at Su Dingheng, not giving in at all. Humph. Su Dingheng was like an angry rooster, unwilling to admit defeat in front of Liang Jin. Liang Jin waved his hand. Men! Bring the shackles over, and invite Marquis Su back to the capital governor's manor with me. You. Su Dingheng was frightened by Liang Jin's imposing manner. If he was really shackled and brought to the capital governor's manor by Liang Jin, he would lose his reputation. Anger, shame, hatred and countless emotions surged up. Su Dingheng gritted his teeth and said, I'll withdraw the people now. After saying that, he immediately ordered people to withdraw the soldiers surrounding the medical center. Liang Jin put away the complaint and left the Marquis manor without even informing Su Dingheng. At the entrance of the Marquis manor, he saw Su Yingxue wearing a black veil and bamboo hat. He stepped forward and said, Genius doctor, don't worry. The soldiers at Tongcheng Medical Center have already withdrawn. You can take care of the patient in peace. He looked at Su Yingxue with admiration. Su Yingxue smiled. Thank you, Lord Liang, for helping the center out. There's no need to thank me. The big and small matters in Jiangdu City are all within my responsibility. Moreover, you cured my wife, so I can't thank you enough. At the mention of his wife, a hint of tenderness flashed across Liang Jin's eyes. Su Yingxue looked at him and suddenly thought of Chui Han. That stinky prince who stole her jade pendant and handkerchief was always cold when he looked at others. But to her, hey, you're thinking about love. The little ginseng's crisp and tender voice carried a hint of gossip. Su Yingxue immediately shook her head. You're the one who's thinking about it. You're a little wimp who's thinking about all sorts of indecent things all day long. Humph. I've lived longer than your ancestors and have seen a lot of things. Sooner or later, you'll be tricked. Little ginseng stuck out its tongue at Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue's eyes were filled with anger. She would be tricked by Chui Han? No way. After the medical center was sealed for a day, it operated normally. Manager Qi and Wu Jinyan were also very busy. Su Yingxue helped them and only returned to the manor late at night. Without waiting for her to rest, Jilan quietly told her, Miss, the Marquis just came and smashed the courtyard. He was especially angry. Su Yingxue returned to the courtyard and saw that it was a mess that had not been cleaned up. She was so angry that she curled her lips. Great, just great. Calling him father was giving him face, wasn't it? Su Yingxue rolled up her sleeves and rushed into Su Dingheng's courtyard, giving him a fright as he was about to rest. His face was filled with horror. You unfilial daughter, do you want to die? How dare you barge into my courtyard? Father, you can barge into my courtyard, so why can't I barge into yours? Su Dingheng moved his mouth, but before he could speak, Su Yingxue shouted first. Just because you're my father? So you won't even let go of my medical center? You were humiliated today, and now you want to put the blame on me. You unfilial daughter. I knew it was you who instigated Liang Jin. Otherwise, why would Liang Jin suddenly come to him to dig up old scores and attack him so ruthlessly? It was all because of Su Yingxue, this disobedient thing. But how do you know Liang Jin? He couldn't figure it out again. Forget about Su Yingxue's medical center that was left behind by her mother. With Liang Jin's official position and temper, even he didn't dare to offend him. How could Su Yingxue order him to do anything? Father, you want to know? The corners of Su Yingxue's mouth curled up into an evil smile. Su Dingheng snorted coldly. The smile in Su Yingsha's eyes instantly turned cold. What can you do to me if I don't tell you? You unfilial daughter. Su Dingheng picked up a vase and threw it at Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue was not hit, but the vase was smashed into pieces. Su Dingheng's heart ached. Father, you smashed my courtyard. Why don't I show my filial piety to you too? Su Yingxue smiled coldly. Then with a few punches and kicks, she smashed all the valuable items in Su Dingheng's room. She even pulled out all the exotic flowers and plants in his courtyard. Su Dingheng jumped up in anger and shouted crazily. Su Yingxue, are you crazy? I'm going to beat you to death. Is that so? Father, this pot of orchids seems to be quite expensive. It was cultivated in the palace, right? As soon as Su Yingxue finished speaking, the flower pot shattered with a bang. She even stomped on it a few times. Su Dingheng clutched his chest hard. That pot of orchids is worth thousands of gold, Su Yingxue. Chapter 28. Su Dingheng vomited blood out of anger. Father, you smashed my courtyard, and I smashed yours. This debt is even. Su Yingxue looked at the mess in satisfaction and clapped her hands. Her eyes reflected the moonlight, and it was so cold that it made people panic. Father, as for the matter of you sending people to surround my medical center, I will also settle it with you properly. You bastard. Bastard. Su Dingheng held on to the treasure that Su Yingxue had smashed and cried out. His miserable voice could be heard by the entire Marquis manor. Jilan watched from outside the door and quickly handed a handkerchief to Su Yingxue. Her eyes were filled with reverence. Miss, you've worked hard. Quickly wipe your sweat. Su Yingxue pinched her soft cheeks and praised her. How thoughtful. Jilan remembered how Su Yingxue tried her best to please Su Dingheng when Su Dingheng despised her. Now that she saw her like this, she felt especially relieved. Su Yingxue patted her head. Today, I exercised my muscles and bones, and am going to have a good sleep. I have more important things to do tomorrow. All right. Jilan also became excited like Su Yingxue. The next morning, Su Yingxue brought Jilan out and went to a grain and oil shop. This shop was also left behind by Su Yingsha's mother. Previously, she had foolishly given it to Su Dingheng. It was one of the 3 shops in Su Dingheng's hands that did not lose money and were the most profitable. Su Dingheng sealed off her medical center, so she would take back his shop. She remembered that in her previous life, the person who managed this shop was Su Dingheng's confidant Zhang Qi. He had a son at an old age, but his youngest son was born with a congenital deficiency. He had been taking medicine all year round to keep his life, but he still could not live past 8 years old. If she calculated the time, he would die at the end of this year. Su Yingxue found Zhang Qi in the grain and oil shop and directly told him her purpose for coming. This shop was left behind by my mother. Now you should hand over the account book to me and let me take care of it. Zhang Qi had heard that Su Yingxue was different from before, but he still subconsciously looked at her with disdain. Miss, are you able to read the accounts? Do you know how to do business and manage the shop? Miss doesn't need you to teach her. You only need to know that your boss is Miss, and not anyone else. Jilan said in an imposing manner. Zhang Qi rolled his eyes. I only listen to the Marquis orders. If there's nothing else, please leave. I don't have much to do. I just don't know if your seriously ill son can live past this year, if he doesn't get treated properly. A trace of regret flashed across Su Yingsha's eyes. After saying that, she stood up and was about to leave. Zhang Qi suddenly became nervous. Wait, miss, what did you mean by that? Could it be that you have a way to cure my son's illness? Tongchang Medical Center that's run by Miss has recently hired a genius doctor. Hasn't manager Zhang heard of this? Jilan winked playfully. Zhang Qi thought about it carefully and remembered Tongchang Medical Center. It was quite famous more than 10 years ago, but it had been silent for a long time. It was said that it had expanded and reopened recently. If they really had a genius doctor who could cure his son. Zhang Qi knelt in front of Su Yingxue, his eyes pleading. If the genius doctor in Miss Medical Center can cure my son, I'm willing to do my best for you. Take your son and follow me to the medical center. All right. Zhang Qi was so excited that he immediately went home to carry his son and brought him to the medical center. He wanted to go with his son to see the genius doctor, but Manager Qi stopped him with a smile. Apologies. Outsiders are not allowed to approach when the genius doctor is doing a consultation. Zhang Qi had no choice but to wait outside. 2 hours later, Su Yingxue brought his son out. His originally sickly and skinny son was now holding Su Yingshue's hand and walking downstairs. Zhang Qi's eyes widened in disbelief. Son, you can walk. That's right, father. I feel much better. Moreover, I'm very hungry. A smile appeared on the child's face. Zhang Qi nodded excitedly. I'll bring you home for dinner. Zhang Qi picked up his son and kowtowed to Su Yingxue. Thank you, miss, for saving my son. The shop belongs to you, so I will definitely return it. Manager Zhang, if you are willing, I will still let you manage the shop. However, the shop will belong to me from now on. Su Yingshue's face was cold and her tone was fierce. Zhang Kix had his misgivings, but he could tell that compared to Su Dingheng, who was just sitting around and enjoying the fruits of his labor, Su Yingxue was more ruthless and decisive. She was a better boss. He gritted his teeth and lowered his head. As long as my son is fine, I will definitely take care of the shop for you. This is the first medicine. Give it to your son according to the prescription on it. I guarantee that he will grow up like a normal child. But if you betray me... Su Yingshue's eyes flashed with a bloodthirsty sharpness. Zhang Qi trembled in fear. I wouldn't dare. Between his loyalty to Su Dingheng and his son's life, Zhang Qi would naturally choose the latter. After all, no one would abandon their own bloodline. The news of Su Yingxue taking over the grain and oil shop quickly reached Su Dingheng's ears. Su Dingheng had not received the shop's revenue for the current month. When he saw the tens of thousands of taels of silver that originally belonged to him go into Su Yingshue's purse, he was so angry that he almost vomited blood. He wanted to go to Su Yingshue's courtyard and smash it up, but then he remembered that his courtyard had been smashed by Su Yingxue. She would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. If she smashed his courtyard again, wouldn't he suffer even more? Su Dingheng was so angry that he paced back and forth. He had wanted to wait for Su Yingxue to come back and scold her, but she did not care at all. Instead, she ignored him. Su Yingxue knew that Su Dingheng had lost the silver and was holding back her anger. She was very happy and gave the servants in the courtyard a reward. She even gave them better food. Su Yuro passed by Su Yingshue's courtyard. Even she could not help but smell the smell of a feast being cooked inside. Jilan and old Madame Zhang bought fresh birds' nests to stew. Seeing Su Yuro at the door, Jilan laughed loudly and said, Auntie Zhang, this bird's nest is really expensive. It must be especially nourishing. That's right. Our miss is amazing. Even servants like us could eat the bird's nest with Mississippi. Miss rewarded us with 3 taels of bird's nest each. We have to nourish ourselves. Jilan and old Madame Zhang chatted and laughed as they entered the courtyard. When Su Yuro heard their words, her face contorted in anger. You two cheap maids don't deserve to eat 3 taels worth of bird's nest. What right do they have? Young miss, the eldest young miss is too much. You only have 1 or 2 taels worth of bird's nest every day. Isn't she clearly showing off? Yuan Rua's eyes had a sour expression. They were both serving misses. Jilan and old Madame Zhang each had 3 taels worth of bird's nests to eat, but she had never even smelled a bird's nest before. Su Yuro twisted the handkerchief in her hand. She's not showing off. She's deliberately slapping me in the face. She was so angry that she ran to Su Dingheng to complain, saying that she also wanted 3 taels worth of bird's nests a day. Chapter 29. The Imperial Edict arrives at the medical center, the 9th Prince's mansion. Mo Qi reported the matter of the Marquis Manor to Chu Yihan. Your Highness, Miss Su made Marquis Su so angry that he vomited blood. The military book in his hand was boring. When Chu Yihan heard this, the corners of his mouth curled up into a seductive smile. Su Yingxue, how many more surprises do you have? Mo Qi's lips twitched. Surprises? In the entire Jiangdu city, the only person who could make her father vomit blood was probably Miss Su, right? Of course she's different. Chu Yihan's face was full of pride, as if he was praising his woman. Mo Qi was curious. Master, is this the reason why you like her? She was exceptionally ruthless? Chu Yahan's eyes flashed coldly. Shallow. Was he only interested in her uniqueness? Su Dingheng fainted from anger and vomited blood. On account of the fact that he was his biological father, Su Yingxue prescribed a dose of medicine for him to recuperate. Su Dingheng had been feeling much better after drinking the medicine. But when he heard that it was Su Yingxue who had given him the medicine, he immediately fainted again. With the medicine taking effect, he would not vomit blood again. However, the anger in his heart was like a stone that was stuck there. It was so painful that he could not even get out of bed. Su Yuro helped Su Dingheng with drinking the medicine. She had nowhere to vent her anger. If we let her continue to be so smug, she will take away all of our family assets. That's right, Mississippi. If you don't think of a way, the Marquis won't have much money left. Yuan Rua was also very anxious. Su Yuro was like an ant on a hot pan. If she wanted to deal with Su Yingxue, she had to understand her. The person Su Jinxian sent to investigate came to report to her. Only then did she know that Liang Jin had come to look for her father and threatened him to withdraw the soldiers guarding the medical center, because there was a genius doctor who had cured his wife's hidden illness for many years. Liang Jin had always loved his wife, and that was why he did that. Also, her father's trusted aide Zhang Qi had suddenly become Su Yingxue's subordinate, because that genius doctor had cured his congenitally deficient son. Speaking of which, Su Yingxue was able to obtain all of this because of her genius doctor. If that genius doctor of hers died, how long could she still be around? A trace of viciousness flashed across Su Yuro's eyes. She immediately changed her clothes and made a trip to the palace. At the medical center, Su Yingxue had just returned from a consultation when she saw a luxurious carriage parked outside the center. The people inside were kneeling on the ground. A eunuch said in a sharp voice, "Genius doctor received the decree." Su Yingxue frowned slightly and slowly knelt down. The eunuch opened the imperial edict and read it aloud. "The genius doctor's medical skills are brilliant, and you are specially summoned into the palace to treat consort Xiang." Su Yingxue's heart sank. Why did the emperor ask her to treat consort Xiang? When she received the imperial edict, the eunuch told her that a carriage would come to fetch her into the palace tomorrow at noon. He told her to prepare well, and she had to cure consort Xiang. The eunuch who delivered the decree thought that she was just a commoner, and specially reminded her. Consort Xiang is a precious person to the emperor. If you can cure consort Xiang, the emperor will definitely reward you handsomely. You will enjoy endless glory and wealth for the rest of your life. Su Yingxue curled her lips. Thank you. The eunuch left with his men. Manager Qi immediately walked in front of Su Yingxue. Miss, what should we do? The emperor has summoned you into the palace. It would be fine if she could cure the consort Xiang, but if she couldn't, it would be a big problem. Su Yingxue's life would be in danger. Wu Jingyan thought carefully. Although you have cured a few patients, how did the emperor know? Why would he suddenly summon you into the palace and ask you to treat consort Xiang? Chapter 30. Poison them all naturally. There are people who have the intention to push the waves. Su Yingxue curled her lips. She told Manager Qi not to worry, and left him to work in the center. Only Wu Jingyan was worried. She quietly followed her upstairs to her private room. Su Yingxue knew that she was worried about her, so she was very friendly to her. If you don't mind, Sister Jingyan, have a seat. Seeing that she was willing to get close to her, Wu Jingyan was very gratified. You're flattering me by calling me sister. I'll tell you everything I know. Su Yingxue nodded. Wu Jingyan said that consort Xiang was a princess of the western regions and had been sent to the Great Qing dynasty for a marriage alliance. Because she was too beautiful, she had always been deeply favored by the emperor. However, after being favored by the emperor, she had been plagued with illness. Although she had been favored for so many years, no imperial physician had ever been able to cure her. This was something that Su Yingxue did not know. She only remembered that in her previous life, before she died horribly, consort Xiang had already passed away. At that time, in order to pursue Chu Qingye, she got close to the empress. When consort Xiang died, she happened to be in the palace. When the empress found out that consort Xiang had died, She was overjoyed, as if she had eliminated a great enemy. Consort Xiang's illness should be related to the Empress. If she went into the palace this time, it would be a death sentence if she could not cure Consort Xiang. If she cured Consort Xiang, she would probably also make an enemy of the Empress. What are you afraid of? Even if your head is chopped off, I can extend your life and let you continue fighting those bad women. The little ginseng started to make a fuss again. Su Yingxue scolded in a low voice. Shut up. Humph. Little ginseng was fuming. Yingxue you. Wu Jinyan thought that Su Yingxue was too nervous and became a little angry. Su Yingxue said, It's fine, sister. You don't have to worry. I'm fine. Are you really okay? Yingxue, if you can decline, why don't you reveal your identity and let your brother beg the emperor to let this matter go? This was the only way Wu Jinyan could think of to protect Su Yingxue. Sister, do you want me to add to my brother's burden? Su Yingxue smiled. Wu Jinyan bit her lip. She naturally didn't want to. But you're also afraid that something will happen to me. So you feel sorry for my brother, and don't want him to be sad, right? Su Yingxue's eyes under the black veil were filled with a crafty light. Wu Jinyan's face instantly turned red. I think you have a plan to deal with it. I'd better go and do my work first. Su Yingxue looked at her back and smiled. After closing the door, she entered the Medicine King Valley. She had picked some herbs to detoxify poison in the Medicine King Valley. Little ginseng hopped in front of her, a few roots floating arrogantly. Hey, why did you pick so many herbs to detoxify the poison? You haven't even diagnosed her yet. Su Yingxue did not stop moving. I've already guessed it. There are many women in the palace. After treating one, there are still many more. Why don't we poison them all? Little ginseng was simple and crude. Su Yingxue tugged at one of the roots and lectured it. You're so young, yet you're so vicious. Ah, it hurts. I'm not vicious. I'm thinking of you. You'll be fine if you poison them all. On its yellow body, its two white eyes were rolling around, and its face was filled with the grievance of being despised for thinking for her. Moreover, it reiterated very seriously, I can be your ancestor. I'm not young. All right, little ancestor. Su Yingxue patted it and coaxed it. After picking up the medicine, she returned to the Marquis Manor to sleep comfortably. The next morning, she waited in the medical center. Yesterday, she was still wondering who recommended her to treat Consort Xiang. Chapter 31. How long can you be arrogant? She knew the answer the moment the carriage entered the palace. Su Yura's carriage had already stopped at the palace gate. She didn't have to come today, but if she wanted to understand Su Yingxue, she had to meet this genius doctor. She saw the carriage that was bringing the genius doctor to a stop, and a person dressed in black from head to toe alighted. She couldn't even see the person's face clearly. She immediately frowned. Why is it so strange? I can't even tell if that person is a man or a woman. Beside her, Yuan Rua's eyes were also filled with disgust. I heard that many strange people in the world dress like this, as if they can't be seen. Looking at this figure, it's a woman, but it might be a transvestite. Su Yuro snorted lightly. Regardless of whether she was a human or a transvestite, she could forget about leaving the palace alive. Su Yingxue and Su Yuro walked towards Yunwei Palace under Eunuch Qin's lead. Eunuch Qin was the head eunuch of Consort Xiang's palace. He was slightly older, and spoke in a more amiable voice than the eunuch who had delivered the decree in a shrill voice. Genius doctor, if you can cure the consort, your future will be boundless. Not only will the emperor reward you handsomely, but he will also give you a chance to enter the Imperial Academy of Medicine. The emperor treasures talents. Su Yuro smiled and agreed. That's right. The genius doctor's medical skills are brilliant. He will definitely be able to cure the consort. She boasted on behalf of Su Yingxue. If she couldn't be cured, this sentence would be her death warrant. Su Yingxue looked straight ahead and asked coldly, What does it have to do with you that I'm here to treat the consort? She treated her like air, the kind that even breathing was a hindrance. A trace of anger flashed in Su Yuro's eyes. She raised her chin high and said arrogantly, I am the daughter of the Marquis of Marshall South. Su Yingxue's tone was indifferent. Oh, it has nothing to do with treating the consort. You. Suyuro was suddenly embarrassed by her. Eunuch Qin hurriedly stepped forward to ease the atmosphere between them. Genius doctor, you might not know about this, but you were able to enter the palace to treat Consort Xiang's illness. It's because of Miss Su's recommendation. Logically speaking, you should thank her. When Suyuro heard this, she snorted lightly and waited for her to thank her. However, Suingxue did not even look at her. Oh, I don't want to thank you. Eunuch Qin felt a little awkward. Suyuro bit her lip. She remembered that she couldn't throw a tantrum in the palace, so she endured it. Suingxue and Eunuch Qin walked in front while she cursed viciously from behind. Who asked you to be Su Yingxi's people? You deserve to die. She would definitely die in the palace. Consort Xiang's illness could not be cured. Suyuro and Suingxue paid their respects to Consort Xiang in the outer hall. Suingxue heard a weak voice coming from behind the curtain. Get up. This was not Suyuro's first time entering the palace, so she greeted Consort Xiang as if she was familiar with her. Your Majesty, this divine doctor cured the wife of the capital governor Lord Qin. His medical skills are brilliant, so he will definitely be able to cure you. Consort Xiang seemed to be weak. Suingxue recalled that in her previous life, Suyuro was smooth and slick. She had stepped on her, the first daughter, while she had fawned over many high-ranking officials and nobles. Now that she saw how familiar she was with Consort Xiang, Suingxue could not help but admire her. She was quite capable. Coincidentally, she was quite capable after her rebirth. Suingxue told Eunuch Qin, I will only treat people individually. Those who are not important shall leave. Her aura was strong, like a flower on a mountain peak, and her words made people not dare to disobey. After Eunuch Qin asked Consort Xiang for instructions, he brought Suyuro out. Suyuro's eyes were cold and merciless. Let's see how long you can be arrogant. Chapter 32. Genius Dr. Chu. Suingxue lifted Consort Xiang's curtain and saw her lying on the chaise lounge. It had to be said that she had the capital to be doted on. Even if she was bedridden, she was still beautiful. The gilded long dress covered her delicate body, and it made people pity her. Consort Xiang's sapphire-like eyes stared at Suingxue. I've been sick for many years. I've to trouble you, genius doctor. Suingxue hummed in acknowledgement and placed 2 fingers on her pulse. Just based on Consort Xiang's humble and docile attitude, she could not bear to see this beauty fall. This diagnosis of the pulse confirmed the guesses in her heart. She was indeed poisoned. Genius doctor, how is it? Consort Xiang's eyes were filled with hope. Although she had been sick for so many years, she still wanted to live well, and for a long time. Suingxue only said 4 words indifferently. It can be cured. Really? Consort Xiang's eyes shone brightly. Suingxue nodded. She performed acupuncture on her and drained half a bowl of blood. Then, she took out the antidote pill that she had prepared earlier and fed it to Consort Xiang. Consort Xiang lay down for a while and fell asleep. She felt dizzy when she slept, and she did not feel good. However, when she woke up, she was surrounded by pairs of eyes that were crying with joy. Your Highness, you've been asleep for 8 hours. Xiang Ling, the personal palace maid, said excitedly. What? I actually slept for so long. Concubine Xiang found it unbelievable. When she spoke, she had recovered a lot of her strength. Xiang Ling's eyes were filled with tears. The genius doctor's medical skills are indeed brilliant. Your Highness, you have never slept well, and have never slept for more than 4 hours. Now that you have slept for 8 hours, I can see that your complexion has improved a lot. Consort Xiang hurriedly waved her hand. Quick, bring me a mirror. Xiang Ling brought a mirror over. Consort Xiang looked at herself in the mirror. Although her face was still pale, her lips were slightly red. They were no longer gray from before. Consort Xiang was pleasantly surprised. Go and invite the genius doctor over. I want to thank the doctor personally. Your Highness, don't be anxious. The genius doctor is currently brewing medicine for you in the side hall. Suingxue brought the medicine to Consort Xiang. Xiang Ling wanted to take the medicine and feed Consort Xiang, but Suingxue stopped her. Let me do it. Xiang Ling was a little confused. Consort Xiang waved her hand and said, "Let the genius doctor do it." She and eunuch Qin could only retreat. Suing Shua watched as Consort Xiang drank the medicine. Consort Xiang closed her eyes and rested for a while. Not only did she feel less uncomfortable, but she also had the strength to get out of bed and walk around. The last time I went to the Imperial Garden was the 2nd year since I came here. A trace of hot tears flowed out of Consort Xiang's eyes. She thanked Suing Shua for treating her, and felt even more fortunate. Suing Shua sized up Consort Xiang. Her exotic charm was a particularly beautiful color in the palace. That was why someone poisoned her and wanted to harm her. "How should I address you, genius doctor?" Consort Xiang's eyes were filled with joy, beautiful like a peerless gem. Looking into her eyes, Suing Shua suddenly thought of Chu Yihan. That stinky prince's eyes were also very beautiful. It was a unique beauty. "My surname is Chu," she answered casually. "Genius Dr. Chu, you have cured me. How should I thank you?" Consort Xiang put on her shoes and was about to get up. Suing Shua spoke out to stop her. "It's best if you don't act rashly. I haven't completely healed you, but I feel much better all over. Divine Dr. Chu, if you give me some more medicine, will I be able to recover?" Chapter 33. The condition to cure Consort Xiang. Consort Xiang did not seem to have complicated thoughts. "Your Highness, it is not difficult for you to recover, but the difficult part is to guarantee that you will not be harmed again," Suing Shua said lightly. "Not be harmed?" Consort Xiang's eyes were filled with a hint of complexity. Her expression was very solemn, and then the corners of her mouth pulled up helplessly. "This is indeed a difficult matter." Suing Shua took a deep breath. It seemed like Consort Xiang knew what was going on. She knew that she would not fall ill for no reason. Moreover, the poison she was poisoned with had something to do with her mother. "Your Highness, I can promise to cure you, and I can also guarantee your safety in the future, but you have to promise me one condition." Consort Xiang's eyes were filled with curiosity. "What condition? I haven't thought of it yet. I'll tell you when I think of it." Suing Shua drew up a prescription and handed it to Consort Xiang. "Your Highness, give the prescription to the person who is the closest to you and can be trusted. From picking the medicine to boiling the medicine to bringing it to you, it can only be done by that person personally. This way, you can be guaranteed to recover from your illness." Consort Xiang nodded. "Xiang Ling came with me to the palace, so there's no problem with handing it to her. But genius Dr. Chu, is there really nothing else you want? Even if you ask for a little reward from the emperor, I can agree to it." Suing Shua shook her head. "I'm not interested." She had no intention of fighting in the palace. She was curing Consort Xiang because she did not want to fall into the trap of others. She wanted Consort Xiang to make a promise so that she could investigate her mother's matter in the future. As for the rest, she didn't need to think too much about it and wouldn't cause trouble. Suing Shua packed her things and walked out of the curtain with the medicine box. She saw that Suyuro was still waiting outside. When Suyuro learned that Consort Xiang could be saved, her heart was already in turmoil. Consort Xiang had been ill for so many years, so many years. How could she be cured? How was this possible? "Miss Su, Consort Xiang can be saved this time. You recommended genius Dr. Chu, which is a great merit." However, when eunuch Qin came to tell Suyuro this, Suyuro still had to smile and respond, "This is my duty. If Her Highness is healthy, I am happy for her too." Her heart was filled with jealousy and hatred, but she still had a glib tongue. She was very good at talking, and eunuch Qin also planned to ask for some rewards for her. However, Suing Shua didn't intend to let Suyuro take advantage of her. "Eunuch, I was the one who cured Her Highness. What does it have to do with her?" Eunuch Qin was stunned. It was Miss Su who recommended you. Logically speaking, it was normal for the recommended person to be rewarded. Why don't you let her treat Her Highness next time? I won't be coming." Su Yingsha's tone was indifferent. Don't. Miss Su doesn't know how to treat illnesses, so of course, you have to come. Genius Dr. Chu, don't be angry. I won't ask for Miss Su's reward." Noticing how hostile Suing Shua was towards Suyuro, Eunuch Qin hurriedly withdrew from the battle between the two of them. You're just a warlock. Why can't I be rewarded? Su Yuro stomped her feet in anger. If she received a reward, she could go back and show off for a long time. But this slut actually ruined her plans. If a warlock can cure Consort Xiang, can you? If you can, go ahead. Su Yingxue rolled her eyes. Su Yuro wanted to harm her. She cured the person. And Su Yuro even wanted a reward? Dream on. Genius Dr. Chu, is there anything else? Consort Xiang's concerned voice rang out. Su Yingxue happened to have something she was still unclear about. So she said, Your Highness, may I know what kind of relationship Miss Su has with you? Consort Xiang's voice carried a trace of doubt. Miss Su? Which Miss Su? Su Yuro was shocked and quickly took out a handkerchief. Chapter 34. Blocked by the Empress, Su Yuro was shocked and quickly took out a handkerchief. Your Highness, last year during the spring banquet, you dropped your handkerchief, so I picked it up for you. You praised me for having a pure heart, and you gifted the handkerchief to me. I have always been thinking about your Highness' health. When I heard that the genius doctor's medical skills were brilliant, I immediately recommended the genius doctor to your Highness. Su Yuro recounted the entire story, and even took credit for it in a roundabout way. She thought that Consort Xiang would reward her heavily, but she did not expect Consort Xiang to say, The spring banquet. I have never dropped a handkerchief. I only threw a handkerchief that I didn't like. Puff. Ha ha ha. So you just have a thick skin, trying to stick to her Highness. The laughter of the palace maids and eunuchs came from the hall. Su Yuro suddenly felt embarrassed, as if her face was burning. Su Yingxue mocked softly. It seems like Miss Su is good at picking up things that others throw away. Even if it's picking up the handkerchief that her Highness threw away, it's my honor. Su Yuro was humiliated, but she still wanted to please Consort Xiang. She knew that once Consort Xiang recovered, she would definitely be the most favored in the 6 palaces. Consort Xiang did not take this flattery to heart. She did not have much of an impression of Su Yuro, and simply thought that she liked the handkerchief, so she waved her hand and said, Go and get some of my handkerchiefs and give them all to Miss Su. Su Yuro was stunned. Giving her handkerchiefs. That was it. She wasn't rewarded with gold, silver, or jewelry, and only gave her a bunch of worthless handkerchiefs? Su Yingxue saw that Su Yuro was in a daze and reminded her, Miss Su, why aren't you quickly accepting her Highness' handkerchiefs? This is your greatest honor. The honor that she had mentioned was like a basin of boiling water, hurting her badly. Su Yuro had to endure it, so that she wouldn't lose face in Consort Xiang's palace. After leaving Yunwei Palace, she stared at Su Yingxue's back with a vicious gaze. How dare you tease me? I won't forgive you. She immediately took a detour to the Empress Palace. When Su Yingxue walked to the palace gate, it was already dark. The palace gate was not locked yet, but it was already closed. The guard told her that she couldn't leave after the time to leave the palace. Su Yingxue frowned. Was he not letting her leave? Divine Dr. Chu, the Empress has invited you. A eunuch's sharp voice sounded from behind her, and Su Yingxue sensed that something was wrong. Just now, Su Yuro didn't come out with her, and now the Empress had sent someone to look for her. Su Yingxue thought to herself that she had underestimated Su Yuro's courage. The Empress Fengzhou Palace was luxurious and majestic. Every part of it revealed the extraordinary status of the Empress. In the main hall, Su Yuro sat in the VIP seat. She raised her chin at Su Yingxue and proudly demonstrated her strength. Su Yingxue slowly knelt down. Greetings, Empress. The Empress did not say anything, but she exuded an air of pressure that was not angry. There was a slight pressure in the air, indicating her displeasure. When Su Yingxue knelt until her legs were numb, the Empress spoke coldly. A commoner actually doesn't reveal his true appearance when meeting me. You are impudent. The word impudent carried deep anger. Su Yingxue nodded slightly. Although I am a commoner, there is no law in the Great Qing dynasty that states that one must reveal their true appearance when meeting the Empress. Impudent. The Empress had been pampered for many years, but no one had ever dared to contradict her like this. Su Yuro smiled and quickly knelt down to console her. Your Majesty, Take care of your precious body. Don't be angry over this ungrateful martial arts warlock. Just now, she treated Consort Xiang and offended her in many aspects. She personally brewed medicine and fed her. Those who don't know better would think that she thinks that the people in the palace will harm Consort Xiang. Chapter 35. I want this person, Your Majesty. The people in the palace are all managed by you. Wouldn't her actions make people suspect you? Her words had kicked Suing Xue to the gates of hell. The Empress was already dissatisfied with her ability to cure Consort Xiang. Now that Su Yuro had provoked her, the Empress wanted to kill this person even more. Summon my order. This person was disrespectful to me. Kill her immediately. The Empress acted decisively without any hesitation. Wait! Suing Xue raised her head and looked at the Empress. If Your Majesty kills me, no one will be able to cure Consort Xiang. Are you the only one who knows medicine and is able to save people in our great Qing dynasty? The Empress did not take her words to heart at all, even though Your Majesty thinks so. I wonder what the Emperor will think when he hears your words. Su Yingshi's words were like a needle stabbing into the Empress' heart. She remembered that in her previous life, the relationship between the Emperor and the Empress was not good. The Empress family was strong and powerful. She also had 2 princes and had very high positions in the palace and court. Therefore, she wantonly harmed the Emperor's favorite consort. The Emperor had always been dissatisfied with her. Consort Xiang's poisoning was also related to her. If the Emperor knew that it was her who delayed Consort Xiang's illness, then there would definitely be a huge dispute between the two of them. The Empress was a woman who needed to rely on the Emperor. If she offended the Emperor too deeply, she would not have a good ending. Her sharp eyes stared at Suing Xue. Are you threatening me? Your Majesty, you can imagine it yourself. The Empress was furious. How dare you? Suing Xue was still kneeling obediently, but the Empress' killing intent toward her grew stronger. No matter what, I will take your life today. Su Yuro was secretly delighted, but she still maintained her goody two-shoes act, and said softly and timidly, Your Majesty, please calm down. Don't hurt your body because of these lowly people. Suing Xue calculated the time. The Emperor should have gone to see Consort Xiang, and knew that she was trapped in the Empress Palace. He would not let her, the only person who could cure Consort Xiang, die here. What are you waiting for? Are you waiting for the Emperor to save you? The Empress' smile carried a hint of viciousness. Let me tell you, even if the Emperor came today, I still won't let you walk out alive. Men, take off her hat first and let me see who she is, then drag her down and beat her to death. Suing Xue was surrounded by palace servants. Just as she was about to deal with them and stall for time, an even heavier pressure suddenly pressed down on her. This pressure scared off the people surrounding her, and she suddenly felt much more relaxed. I want this person. His cold and arrogant voice carried a hint of seductive charm. Suing Xue looked sideways and saw Chu Yihan, who was dressed in a black python robe, walking over slowly. He was covered in moonlight, and his alluring face was shockingly beautiful. The corners of his mouth curled into an evil smile, which was evil and charming. Even though there was a layer of black veil between them, he could accurately meet her eyes and show her a teasing expression. Fuck! Suing Xue recalled what this person had done to her, and could not help but curse him secretly. Chu Yihan wasn't so serious when facing Suing Xue, but when facing others, he was so serious that it was irresistible. The Empress was still fuming. When she heard Chu Yihan's words, she became even angrier for no reason. No, this person offended me, and I will definitely punish her. Chapter 36. Chu Yihan, don't come over, she's my servant. I'm afraid Imperial sister-in-law can't punish her. Chu Yihan grabbed Su Yingshi's arm and lifted her up. Hiss! Su Yingshi's legs were numb from kneeling, and she was suddenly lifted up. She lost her balance and fell towards Chu Yihan. Chu Yihan's steel-like arms caught her firmly. Their intimate actions caught Su Yuro's eyes, and it ignited 2 balls of fire in her eyes. Bitch! How dare you get close to the 9th prince? She was so jealous that her teeth were about to break. Chu Yihan was a man who many young girls in Jiangdu City dreamed of marrying. Many women would die to see him. This transvestite was hugging Chu Yihan. How could Su Yuro tolerate this? She immediately wanted to expose her true colors to Chu Yihan. Your Highness, the Empress treated the genius doctor with courtesy. Not only was the genius doctor ungrateful, but she also rejected the Empress' good intentions and humiliated her. That's why Her Majesty became angry. I hope that Your Highness will understand and not be angry with Her Majesty. When the Empress heard this, her expression eased up a lot. Ninth brother heard that. It's not that I'm deliberately making things difficult for her, but she is just a commoner relying on her medical knowledge and looking down on me and the palace rules. As the Empress, I have no choice but to kill her to correct the palace. Chu Yihan raised his eyebrows. Really? He lowered his head and looked at Su Yingxue. You look down on the Empress and the palace rules? Su Yingxue licked her lips. How was she going to explain? She had indeed done so, but she had done it to save her own life, and was waiting for the emperor to save her for Consort Xiang? Chu Yihan was still waiting for Su Yingxue to answer him. Su Yingxue was too lazy to explain to him, so she nodded. Chu Yihan raised his eyebrows. She was indeed different. Imperial sister-in-law. If there's nothing else, I will take her away first. Su Yingxue was speechless. Was His Highness going to look down on the palace rules, and the Empress with her? There was a problem with what she did, but it didn't seem to be a problem for Chu Yihan to do so. The Empress shouted angrily, "Stop! Ninth brother, I won't allow it." Su Yuro also hurriedly advised, "Your Highness, don't be angry with the Empress for a commoner." Chu Yihan didn't take Su Yuro seriously at all. He turned to look at the Empress and said, "I'll take her away." He took Su Yingxue away and left the messy atmosphere behind in Fengzhou Palace. The Empress was so angry that she flipped the table. Su Yuro was even more stunned on the spot. She bit her lip, causing her pink lips to bleed. Why? What right does a lowly commoner have to gain the favor of the prince? But she couldn't. Su Yingxue was brought out of Fengzhou Palace. Seeing that she was walking slowly, Chu Yihan deliberately slowed down his long legs. Your legs hurt. Su Yingxue nodded. Yes, I've been kneeling for too long. I will carry you. Chu Yihan stopped and extended his arms to her. Su Yingxue retreated in horror. Your Highness, you must be joking. Letting him carry her in the palace? Su Yingxue moved quickly, not giving Chu Yihan a chance to tease her again. Chu Yihan looked at her panicking steps, and the corners of his mouth curled up into a dazzling arc. At the palace gate, Mo Qi stood guard in front of the carriage of the prince's mansion, watching his master and Su Yingxue come out one after the other. His master was like a spring breeze, but Su Yingxue was walking unsteadily as if her legs were weak. Mo Qi thought to himself, my master is brutal. He had already tormented Miss Su to this extent in the palace. Under Mo Qi's suspicious gaze, Chu Yihan threw Su Yingxue into the carriage. Chu Yihan, don't come over. Ah, it hurts. Chapter 37. I will protect you. Chu Yihan placed his hand on Su Yingxue's knee and raised his eyebrows. I didn't use any strength. She shouted too early. Su Yingxue was filled with anger. Your Highness, men and women shouldn't touch each other. Don't you know this common sense? When Chu Yihan heard this, he moved his hands gently and rubbed her knees. I know, but I won't do it. Su Yingxue was speechless. She was always speechless by this man's shamelessness. However, the gentle movements of his hands gradually made her feel less pain in her knees, and her body relaxed. She had been in the palace for a whole day. Chu Yihan massaged her knees, and she leaned against the carriage to rest. She thought about the myriad of things in her mind. Consort Xiang had been poisoned by a poison developed by her mother, and the person who had poisoned her was afraid of her. The person who had poisoned her must be related to the Empress. Her mother's cause of death was unknown, and if she found out who had poisoned Consort Xiang, she could also find clues related to her mother. Trying to help Consort Xiang, Chu Yihan's deep and magnetic voice made Su Yingxue open her eyes. There was still a languid look in her eyes that had yet to dissipate. She was like a loving cat, very gentle and obedient. Chu Yihan's heart skipped a beat, and he subconsciously wanted to get closer to her. Su Yingxue quickly avoided him. After keeping a distance from him, she sat up straight and answered her question. I just want to cure her. Heh. Chu Yihan sneered. His deep and sharp eyes seemed to have seen through her thoughts. You don't believe me. Do you think I will do something to you? Su Yingxue also imitated him and snorted. Why should I trust your highness? Is there anything I can trust in your conduct? What have I done that is not worthy of your trust? I didn't help you when I sent the ginseng to the Marquis Manor? When I invited you into my manor to treat my illness, didn't that make you famous? I saved you today, but didn't I leave you safe and sound? Chu Yihan was upright, and there was a hint of grievance in his tone. It was as if Su Yingxue had let him down. Su Yingxue originally felt that she had been taken advantage of by him, and hated him righteously. But now, why did she feel that she was in the wrong? It seemed like what Chu Yihan said was true. He had been helping her all along. Cough cough. Su Yingxue turned around and faced Chu Yihan. She lowered her head and thanked him seriously. Thank you for your help, Your Highness. I am extremely grateful. However, treating Consort Xiang today is just like what Your Highness said. It's troubled waters, so it's better not to implicate you. I'm fearless. Chu Yihan's handsome face had a casual expression. Su Yingxue felt her heart heat up. This man was noble and domineering. She originally had no power to resist in front of him. However, everything he did made her want to trust him and tell him what she wanted to do. I want to find the murderer who poisoned Consort Xiang, because the poison that Consort Xiang was poisoned with is related to my mother. She blurted out the words out of nowhere. Chu Yihan's eyebrows twitched slightly. Alright, do it without worry. I'll protect you. Su Yingxue was stunned. Your Highness, with me here you still don't feel at ease? Chu Yihan raised his eyebrows. Was he not strong enough for her to feel? No. Su Yingxue shook her head. He had dared to take her away from Fengzhou Palace and anger the Empress. His strength was so strong that it made people admire him. Since he dared to do this, he must not be afraid of the consequences. But why did he help her? Chapter 38. Snatching the letter. Chu Yihan's ability to read people's minds was especially effective against Su Yingxue. He patted Su Yingxue's head. Don't worry and do it. With me around, no one will dare to touch you. Su Yingxue's face turned red. She quickly put on her hood again and said uncomfortably, Thank you, Your Highness. I will remember your thanks and will ask for a gift from you. Chu Yihan was very pleased with himself. He sent Su Yingxue to the medical center. He knew that it was not convenient for her to return to the Marquis Manor like this. After she got out of the carriage, he immediately left. Su Yingxue stood at the entrance of the medical center and was stunned for a while. The temperature in her chest kept rising, and her face was flushed red. Chu Yihan's words were still lingering in her mind. I don't like the people that you dislike too. So, did he like her? Impossible. Su Yingxue shook her head and quickly threw this thought away. It was a little scary. Miss, you're finally back. Are you okay? Manager Qi was still waiting in the center. When he saw Su Yingxue's flushed face, he quickly showed concern. Su Yingxue shook her head. I'm fine. I'll go change first. She went upstairs. She originally wanted to change her clothes and return to the Marquis Manor to rest. But after going through the matters in the palace again, she decided to go through her mother's handwritten letter again. The medical books and classics left behind by her mother were all stored in a small courtyard behind the medical center. No matter how meager the income of the medical center was over the years, Manager Qi had kept this place well protected and tidied up. Su Yingxue took out a small box from a hidden corner and unlocked it. She took out the handwritten letter inside. It was already somewhat rolled up, but what was recorded inside was all her mother's hard work. Su Yingxue flipped to the page that wrote Drunken Beauty, and saw that among the herbs needed to make the Drunken Beauty, there was a rare poison called Shijiao. Just as she was engrossed in reading, little Ginseng suddenly shouted, Quickly dodge! Su Yingxue dodged as fast as lightning, but a strand of her hair was still cut off. A thin sharp sword was pointed at her again. It stopped just an inch away from the tip of her nose, and the blade split open a door behind her. Boom! There was a loud bang. Under the dim light, Su Yingxue saw a pair of eyes that were different from ordinary people. They were like a ferocious beast that had swallowed the entire night sky. There was a dark purple at the end of his eyes, and killing intent suddenly appeared. They were deep and dark. Su Yingxue had an accurate feeling that anyone he looked at would definitely die, dying under his lightning-fast sword. However, he did not kill her. Su Yingxue suppressed the fear in her heart and tried her best to remain calm as she asked, "Who are you? What do you want?" The man's voice was naturally hoarse. "Silver Moon Pavilion wants the thing in your hand." Silver Moon Pavilion? A hint of surprise flashed across Su Yingxue's eyes. She followed the man to a palace. She didn't remember the way because she was blindfolded. The interior of the hall was cold and oppressive. The colors were dark, and most of the decorations were red. In front of Su Yingxue, there were layers of red gauze curtains. Through these curtains, she saw the outline of a woman. She had a graceful figure as she sat on the throne. A large red lotus was embroidered at the end of her black gauze dress. She treated Su Yingxue politely and said gently, "I'm sorry, Miss Su. I invited you to the Silver Moon Pavilion so late at night. It's because the assassin we sent this time was insensible." After saying that, she moved her finger. The man who brought Su Yingxue here, who was also standing behind her, was whipped ruthlessly. Chapter 39. Silver Moon Pavilion's #1 assassin. Su Yingxue turned around to take a look. The man's skin was torn open, and there was a deep bloody scar on his back. His flesh had been stirred up. However, he stood steadily and hugged his sword without making a sound. What a ruthless master, what a ruthless killer. Su Yingxue couldn't help but think of her previous life. Before she died, the Silver Moon Pavilion had become so powerful that even the 4 kingdoms and 9 provinces were deeply afraid of it. No one knew who founded the Silver Moon Pavilion and where its foundation was. However, the Silver Moon Pavilion was involved in all kinds of businesses in the world, including intelligence, military weapons, and everything else. They were omniscient and omnipotent. The 4 kingdoms and 9 states had once sent troops to destroy the Silver Moon Pavilion, but both sides suffered heavy losses. In the end, both sides made concessions. The 4 kingdoms and 9 states coexisted with the Silver Moon Pavilion, and the Silver Moon Pavilion did not oppose the imperial court. Now, she was brought to the Silver Moon Pavilion. The Silver Moon Pavilion wanted her mother's handwritten letter. It would be difficult for her to escape with the letter. Su Yingxue sized up the woman behind the curtain. "How are you going to get my mother's letter? What are you going to do with it?" Hong Lian chuckled. "The Silver Moon Pavilion is a place where we do business properly. We won't take anything by force. If we want Miss Su's letter, we naturally have to pay the same price. As for its use, this is not within the scope of our transaction, so it is inconvenient to let you know." Su Yingxue narrowed her eyes slightly. The rules in Silver Moon Pavilion are indeed strict. Hong Lian's red lips curled up slightly. Of course. For example, the #1 assassin of the Silver Moon Pavilion. He already has an extraordinary status in the Silver Moon Pavilion. However, if he doesn't do his job properly, he will still be punished. Su Yingxue turned back to look at the man. When he attacked, he was as fast as lightning. At other times, he stood at the side like an invisible person. Even his breathing could not be heard. However, Su Yingxue could imagine that if he wanted to kill her, she would not be able to struggle for more than 3 seconds. Therefore, she turned her attention back to the deal with Hong Lian. "You should know that I have a medical center and a grain and oil store. I earn a lot of money every day, so I won't be short of money for the time being. Miss Su, what if I give wealth that even the Marquis Manor cannot compare to? Would you be willing to consider it?" Hong Lian asked with a smile. Su Yingxue also curled her lips. She held the letter and smiled faintly. "I didn't expect my mother's letter to be worth more than a Marquis Manor. But do you have any other way of trading? It's a pity to exchange money for such a precious letter from my mother." "Ha ha ha, Miss Su, you're really smart." Hong Lian clearly did not expect Su Yingxue to have such a huge change. In her intelligence records, Su Yingxue had suddenly turned from an idiot to intelligent, bold, and decisive. However, her current appearance, as well as her calm and quiet demeanor in the Silver Moon Pavilion, was not something a 16-year-old girl should have. Su Yingxue didn't waste any time talking to her. Just tell me, are you going to exchange or not? It seems that Miss Su has taken a fancy to something. What do you want to exchange with the Silver Moon Pavilion? Intelligence, medicinal herbs, the position of imperial concubine, or your sister's life? Su Yingxue shook her head. None of these. She turned around and pointed her slender fingers at the man whose breathing was undetectable. I want him. The man looked up at her and immediately returned to his invisible state. Hong Lian chuckled. Miss Su, you have sharp eyes. He is indeed one of the top 10 most valuable trading items in our Silver Moon Pavilion. Chapter 40. Cheated an assassin. Since it's a trade item, then it can be traded. The Silver Moon Pavilion should also abide by the rules. As long as you give him to me, I will trade my mother's letter with you. Su Yingxue's eyes were fixed on the man. She couldn't attract the man's attention at all, but she could smell something unusual from the man's blood. Little Ginseng reminded her. This person won't live long. You'll lose out if you exchange with her. Su Yingxue curled her lips. Can't I just cure him? Little Ginseng was very doubtful. Can you do it? If I can't do it, you can. Little Ginseng was speechless. This damn teammate. Hong Lian couldn't bear to trade with Su Yingxue. But when she thought about the identity of the buyer of this letter from the Silver Moon Pavilion, she sighed. Sigh, all right. From now on, this person belongs to Miss Su. What's his name? Su Yingxue asked. Hong Lian replied. Since he is no longer a member of the Silver Moon Pavilion, he cannot use the Silver Moon Pavilion's name. He is Miss Su's person. You can call him whatever you want to call him. Su Yingxue walked closer to him and held his hand. She asked curiously, What do you want to be called? The man didn't move and spat out like a block of wood. Nothing. Su Yingxue had already felt his pulse. His martial arts were strong, but he was poisoned and would not live long. She took out a pill and stuffed it into his mouth. You shall be called Ziwei from now on. Your eyes are very beautiful. After Su Yingxue said that, the man reacted. The gloominess in his eyes seemed to have fallen into a ray of light. Ziwei. You don't like it? Ziwei shook his head. No. Su Yingxue fed him the medicine, but he didn't ask and just ate it obediently. Su Yingxue poked him. Aren't you afraid that it's poison? Master, my life is yours. Ziwei's words were concise and comprehensive. He did not say a word, but his gaze made Su Yingxue even more certain that he would definitely use his life to be loyal to her. Ziwei, since you call me master, you must listen to me no matter what I say. Whatever I order you to do, you have to do it. Su Yingxue patted his shoulder solemnly. Ziwei opened his eyes, and the purple color at the end of his eyes was filled with bloodlust. I will obey master's orders. Seeing them dawdling, Hong Lian could not help but remind them. Miss Su, I've given him to you. It's time to give me the letter. Yes, here you go. Su Yingxue handed the letter to Hong Lian's men and asked them to present it to Hong Lian. Hong Lian received the letter. After confirming that it was the real thing, she smiled in satisfaction. Miss Su, it's been a pleasure working with you. Su Yingxue's smile had a hint of gloominess. Ziwei, help me snatch the letter back and take me away from here. Ziwei replied, Yes, master. He did not hesitate at all. He moved as fast as lightning and snatched the letter from Hong Lian's hand. He quickly returned to Su Yingxue's side and hugged her waist, bringing her out of the Silver Moon Pavilion. Hong Lian reacted and gritted her teeth in anger. Su Yingxue, how dare you trick the Silver Moon Pavilion? She took her assassin and even snatched the letter. Ziwei brought Su Yingxue back to the Marquis Manor. Su Yingxue patted his shoulder and encouraged him. Beautifully done, Ziwei. Ziwei ignored her praise. I will obey master's orders. Are you like this in the Silver Moon Pavilion? Su Yingxue touched her chin and pondered. Ziwei nodded. Yes. All right. Then you'll be responsible for protecting me in the future. There was a slight change in Ziwei's eyes. He had never seen anyone who dared to go against the Silver Moon Pavilion alone. Chapter 41. Cure him. Protect her for a long time, especially today. She played a cruel trick on the Silver Moon Pavilion. Wasn't she afraid? Don't look at me like that. Of course, I'm afraid of the Silver Moon Pavilion. But didn't I bring you here? Now you belong to me. According to the rules of the Silver Moon Pavilion, you're mine forever. Suing Xue blinked her beautiful eyes. Zi Wei's face remained expressionless. Since you're mine, I must cure you. Rest in your room for 2 hours, and I'll prepare the medicine for you. Suing Xue replied crisply. Why do I need medicine? Zi Wei was confused. You're severely poisoned, and don't have much time left. I want to cure you. Suing Xue answered clearly. No need to make an effort. A trace of darkness crossed Zi Wei's eyes. Death is easier than living. No. You belong to me, and you have great use for me. I can't let you die too soon. Behave, go rest over there, and I'll call you when the medicine is ready. Suing Xue patted his shoulder and then turned around, disappearing behind the screen. Zi Wei couldn't see her anymore, but his hearing was excellent. He could hear her rummaging and preparing the medicine, stirring a strange feeling within him. Suing Xue came out with the medicine. Zi Wei had been sitting by the table, but the moment he heard her faint footsteps, he opened his eyes, and a murderous intent filled the air. Suing Xue handed him the medicine. Drinking it will alleviate your pain. Zi Wei took the medicine and drank it all in one go without any hesitation or doubt. Suing Xue couldn't help but laugh. Aren't you afraid that I might have given you poison medicine? I'm not afraid. Is that all you can say? Yes. Suing Xue sighed inwardly. Just as she expected, he wouldn't say more than a word. Before going to sleep, she instructed. You can rest in my courtyard for the next few days. You can choose any room you like. Zi Wei didn't nod. With him guarding her, Suing Xue could sleep peacefully, even if she was worried about the Silver Moon Pavilion's retaliation. After all, this person's martial arts were truly unmatched. In the future, if he wasn't taken away by her, he would be sent to kill the Emperor of Dongzhou and bring back his head. Although Suing Xue didn't know who had given the order, her memories from her previous life were enough to let her know that this person could protect her. With Zi Wei's protection, the Silver Moon Pavilion had sent 3 groups of assassins, all of whom failed and returned empty-handed. Hong Lian was trembling with anger at the Silver Moon Pavilion. She even harbored thoughts of killing Suing Xue herself. However, she suddenly received an invitation from Chu Yihan, the 9th Prince's mansion. Chu Yihan's table, which was previously covered with memorials and military books, now held a few miscellaneous books. Although they were called miscellaneous books, Chu Yihan still read them earnestly. Mo Qi stood by Chu Yihan's side and occasionally glanced at him. When he noticed Chu Yihan's confusion, Mo Qi said, Master, please put that aside for now. Hong Lian will arrive soon. You can ask her. Chu Yihan furrowed his brows impatiently. Go and fetch her. Mo Qi sighed and quickly made his way to the Silver Moon Pavilion. Fortunately, he encountered Hong Lian on the way. Hong Lian's brows were tightly furrowed. Your Highness summoned me. What urgent matter requires my presence? Mo Qi noticed her anxiety and playfully teased her. Of course, it's a matter of great importance. Otherwise, would your Highness be so anxious to find you? Hong Lian became even more nervous upon hearing this. She hurriedly arrived at the prince's mansion and entered Chu Yihan's study. She respectfully cupped her hands, a hint of urgency in her gesture. Your Highness, I apologize for the delay, because I have something to handle at the Silver Moon Pavilion. I hope you won't be displeased. Chu Yihan was reading something he didn't understand. He handed the book to Hong Lian and said, I don't understand what this book is about. Please explain it to me. Chapter 42. Who is Chu Yihan going to marry? Hong Lian thought it was some kind of extraordinary puzzle, but when she looked at it, the contents of the book surprised her. She flipped through the cover, and it boldly read, 100 Ways to Coax Women. Your Highness! Hong Lian felt shocked and disbelieving, almost thinking she hadn't woken up properly. On page 42, it says that when a woman has her monthly cycle, you shouldn't get close to her or argue with her. Instead, you must be gentle and soothe her. Why is that? Chu Yahan's well-defined hand rhythmically tapped on the table, and his eyes showed a genuine thirst for knowledge. Hong Lian's emotions were complex. She turned to look at Mo Qi, who also wore a puzzled expression. Yeah, why can't you argue and coax a woman during her monthly cycle? What's the monthly cycle? Does it come every month? Hong Lian was speechless. She wanted to smack Mo Qi's head. Your Highness, please forgive Hong Lian's ignorance. Why are you suddenly reading these books? You're not yet married, so it seems unnecessary for you to go through them. Hong Lian's heart trembled, concealing her deep respect and admiration. But the pain was hard to conceal. She knew that the woman who made Chu Yihan read these books was not her. But who was she exactly? I'm intending to marry a princess, and Mo Qi found these books, saying they should be read before marriage. Chu Yihan furrowed his brow. He was a genius widely praised throughout the Great Qing dynasty, and he had never encountered a problem he couldn't solve. However, he truly didn't understand some of the content in these books, nor did he know how to put them into practice. For example, the part about not getting close to her just now. Whenever he was with Su Yingxue, he couldn't help but want to be close to her. If he married her in the future, not being able to get close to her for several days was something he couldn't bear. Who does your Highness intend to marry? What woman has caught your Highness' eye? Hong Lian felt as if her heart had been struck heavily, forgetting about the difference in their status and revealing her inner pain. Hong Lian, this isn't something you should ask. Mo Qi quickly pulled her back and discreetly reminded her. The air suddenly became heavy and stifling. Hong Lian lowered her head and apologized. Your Highness, I have overstepped my bounds. Please forgive me, Your Highness. Chu Yihan grunted in acknowledgement, his voice clearly showing displeasure. He asked her to bring the book over. Do you know why? Hong Lian forced a bitter smile, every word carrying a tinge of bitterness. The monthly cycle refers to a woman's menstrual cycle, which occurs for 3 to 7 days each month. During this time, a woman's body is weakened, and she becomes irritable and easily angered. That's why you shouldn't get close to her, and need to be patient and understanding in your interactions. When she has her menstrual cycle, what can I do for her? Chu Yihan's eyes, filled with seriousness, felt like another stab in Hong Lian's heart. Hong Lian clenched her lips and looked down. Keep her warm, prevent her from being exposed to cold, and provide warmth to her abdomen to alleviate the pain. Does it cause her a lot of pain? Chu Yihan suddenly stood up, radiating a menacing aura. Observing the seriousness in his eyes, Hong Lian knew just how much he cared about that woman. But he was Chu Yihan, God's favored one, the noblest ninth prince in the entire world. What kind of woman could captivate him to such an extent, stirring his soul and filling his dreams? Hong Lian remained silent for a while, and Mo Qi nudged her with his elbow. Your Highness is asking you a question. What's wrong with you today? Did you become foolish at the Silver Moon Pavilion? Suppressing the pain in her heart, Hong Lian nodded. Yes, it causes a lot of pain. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 43. Purple Tail's character Chu Yihan tightened his grip on the book. He felt uneasy at the thought of her enduring such intense pain for a few days every month, while he could do so little for her. Hong Lian walked out of Chu Yihan's study room in a daze. Mo Qi kindly accompanied her, saying, Hey, what's wrong with you? Are you tired from working at the Silver Moon Pavilion? Hong Lian shook her head. Not tired. Do you know who the woman your Highness is interested in? Mo Qi chuckled. You know your Highness' temperament. How could I possibly tell you about that? Why can't you tell me? Tell me. Hong Lian grabbed Mo Qi's collar, her emotions rising. Her enchanting eyes turned slightly red, making her even more alluring. At least in Mo Qi's eyes, she was beautiful. However, as Chu Yihan's trusted confidant, he looked helplessly at Hong Lian. You also serve a master. Would you dare to tell me about your master? After hearing this, Hong Lian took a deep breath and let go of Mo Qi. Her voice carried a thick sense of disappointment. One overstepped my bounds. As Mo Qi looked at the blooming lotus flower on her red dress, a trace of regret appeared on his face. You overstepped your bounds, and so did one. From the moment he laid eyes on this woman, he had overstepped his bounds. Su Yingxue had been nursing Ziwei in the Marquis manor for a few days, and his complexion had improved significantly since their first meeting. One could tell that despite his cold and expressionless face, there were remarkable features. If he were dressed up and placed among the young masters of wealthy families, he would stand out. Jilan thought he was handsome. Su Yingxue instructed her to bring the medicine to Ziwei. With a cheerful smile she approached him. Ziwei, the medicine Miss asked me to bring. Drink it while it's still hot. Ziwei held his sword, his face cold, and treated her as if she were invisible, completely ignoring her. Jilan pouted with sadness and said, Miss asked me to bring this to you. Miss said you were poisoned and must be detoxified. She moved forward again, almost reaching Ziwei's presence when suddenly a gust of wind flashed by. Ah! Jilan screamed. Su Yingxue pulled her back just in time, saving her from being killed by Ziwei's sword. Jilan, still shaken by the scare, glared at Ziwei. How could you be like this? Miss kindly brewed the medicine for you. One kindly brought it to you. And you still want to kill me? Look, the medicine has spilled. Jilan gazed at the broken bowl, feeling sorry not only for the spilled medicine, but also for Su Yingxue's efforts. Ziwei remained expressionless, his eyes icy. You're not her. I am not Miss, but am Miss Maid. Why would I harm you? Jilan felt that she wasn't trusted and stomped her foot in sadness. Yes. Ziwei coldly deepened her distress without any mercy. Jilan puffed up her little face, her eyes filled with grievances. Su Yingxue gently rubbed her face and comforted her. That's just his personality. We still have more medicine. Pour another bowl. Yes, Mississippi. As soon as Su Yingxue gave the order, Jilan immediately went to get another bowl of medicine. However, she didn't dare to get close to Ziwei anymore. After handing the medicine to Su Yingxue, she quickly left. In the room, there were only Su Yingxue and Ziwei. Su Yingxue placed the medicine in his hand. Drink it. Ziwei downed the whole bowl, leaving no trace behind. It was completely different from when Jilan had brought him the medicine. He showed no sign of guarding against Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue found it amusing. You're afraid that Jilan will harm you, but you're not afraid that he'll harm you. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 44. Chu Qingye acting on the edict, it doesn't matter. Ziwei's eyes were gloomy, and his cold, emotionless statement made Su Yingxue sense a hint of desolation. I remember you said that it doesn't matter if it's the master wants to take your life. Ziwei nodded. So you were poisoned because of the Silver Moon Pavilion's control over you? She asked. No, after completing the task, seeking revenge. The Silver Moon Pavilion didn't help you detoxify the poison inflicted on you? Su Yingxue remembered that Hong Lian had mentioned that Ziwei was one of the top 10 valuable individuals in the Silver Moon Pavilion. Object unnecessary. Ziwei's tone remained icy, without the slightest change. Su Yingxue's expression briefly showed a tinge of sadness upon hearing his words. In her previous life, wasn't she also treated as an object? In the eyes of the people she cared about, she only had utility value. Once that value was exhausted, she would be disposed of. Ziwei was no different. To the Silver Moon Pavilion, he was merely an object, a sharp weapon. They didn't care whether he was poisoned or when he died. What mattered to them was how much he could accomplish for the Silver Moon Pavilion, and how many lives he could take. He had never lived for himself. Su Yingxue's eyes momentarily dimmed, then suddenly became bright, like a beam of strong light emerging from the abyss. She said, As long as you protect me well, one will also protect you. I will detoxify you, and let you live a normal life. Having experienced death once, it had made her much more open-minded. All living beings were equal, each living their own lives. However, Ziwei seemed indifferent and replied coldly, Not necessary. Su Yingxue sighed, placing her hand on her forehead. What would happen if you said just one more word? Can't they communicate properly? Su Yingxue thought. No, Ziwei replied. Su Yingxue felt exasperated. Indeed, one more word. Well, forget it. She would change her long-term goal into a short-term one, focusing on keeping him alive for now. With Ziwei protecting her on behalf of the Silver Moon Pavilion, Su Yingxue wasn't too concerned. However, since she had promised to cure Consort Xiang, she anticipated a constant stream of troubles within the palace. This morning, she had been contemplating countermeasures when someone came knocking on her door. Clad in a moon-white brocade robe with delicate golden patterns, outlining the aura of a prince, Chu Qingye instantly became the center of attention upon his arrival. Inside the medical clinic, several married women blushed and turned their faces away. 2 rows of guards stood behind Chu Qingye, carrying a box. He looked ahead arrogantly. "Where is the boss? Come out immediately." Manager Qi glanced at Su Yingxue, who was busy tending to the medicine cabinet, and approached Chu Qingye politely. "May I ask, is this young master here for a consultation or to purchase medicine? I am the 7th prince of the current dynasty. Summon your boss to meet me," Chu Qingye declared. Chu Qingye possessed a captivating appearance, and since childhood, countless individuals had sought to please him. He exuded a sense of superiority, expecting to be revered wherever he went. Yet, he was oblivious to the fact that he had stepped into Su Yingxue's domain. Manager Qi chuckled. "Young master, our boss doesn't readily meet with people. If there's nothing urgent, how dare you defy your highness? You seek death." Chu Qingye's chief guard unsheathed his sword, attempting to intimidate Manager Qi. However, his blade was promptly pushed back by a powerful force. Su Yingxue even gave him 2 slaps. The guard was caught off guard, and was about to retaliate when Chu Qingye glared at him. "Stand down." He looked at Su Yingxue unhappily. "What are you doing here? I advise you to mind your own business." A few days ago, she had embarrassed him in front of the 9th imperial uncle. He had yet to settle that score with her. She had better not provoke his anger today. Su Yingxue smiled and said, "7th prince, did you come to advise me to mind my own business? Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much." Chapter 45. Su Yingxue, don't give me too much. Are you the owner of this clinic? Chu Qingye's eyes held both shock and disbelief. Seeing Manager Qi's respectful attitude towards Su Yingxue, he had no choice but to believe that Su Yingxue was the one who owned this clinic. Su Yingxue tidied up the stray hair on her forehead. "Didn't my sister tell you about our extraordinary relationship? Why didn't she inform you? Su Yingxue, don't take advantage of me. Come here." Chu Qingye forcefully dragged Su Yingxue to the back hall. He frowned, and his eyes were filled with disgust and inquiry. "Where did you get the money to open a clinic? And that genius doctor, where did you find him? What does it have to do with you, your highness?" Su Yingxue looked down at her hand. "How does it not concern me? Su Yingxue, you are engaged to me, and your blatant appearance in public like this is simply ruining my reputation. Call the genius doctor in your clinic immediately. I want to take her away." Chu Qingye felt indignant. It turned out that Su Yingxue, who had been pursuing him, was capable. It had only been a few days since he treated her coldly, and she had managed to establish such a large clinic and hire such a skilled doctor. She was deliberately deceiving him. "Your Highness, if you haven't fully woken up yet, go back and get some more sleep. I'm busy here and don't have time for you." Su Yingxue sneered and shook off Chu Qingye's hand, ready to leave. "Su Yingxue, don't blame me for not giving you face." Chu Qingye raised his chin and ordered his men to open the box. Inside, entire box was filled with glittering golden light that dazzled many people's eyes. "This is enough to buy 10 of your clinics. One want your clinics and your people," Chu Qingye declared arrogantly. "So much gold?" Su Yingxue's eyes showed a hint of disbelief. Chu Qingye, seeing her reaction, snorted coldly, and his disdain for Su Yingxue deepened. Su Yingxue clicked her tongue and sighed. "Your Highness, this amount of gold is too little for my clinic." She waved her hand. "Manager Qi, throw it out." "Yes, miss." Manager Qi called over a few assistants and carried the box out. Following Su Yingxue's instructions, they threw the box out. As a result, when Chu Qingye's chest of gold spilled out onto the street, it caused a commotion, and people started scrambling for it. "Are you all useless? Hurry up and go after them." Chu Qingye angrily commanded his subordinates. He turned around and glared at Su Yingxue. How dare you go against me? Su Yingxue nonchalantly popped a meatball into her mouth, wearing an innocent expression. It's not the first rhyme. Why are you so surprised, Your Highness? Pucci. Manager Qi couldn't help but burst into laughter. Even Wu Jinyan covered half of her face, chuckling softly. Su Yingxue, what do you want to hand over that genius doctor? Chu Qingye's fair complexion turned red with anger. Su Yingxue looked at him playfully. Even the anger she caused him was bearable for him. It seemed that the Empress had given him a task to find someone here. But due to her connection with Liang Jin, he didn't dare to act rashly, so he resorted to using gold. However, that box of gold was truly insufficient. The price one want Your Highness can't afford. Your Highness, the door is over there. Take your time leaving, Su Yingxue said with a polite smile. Stubborn. Chu Qingye shouted coldly and stormed out. He hadn't completed the task given by his mother, but he couldn't resort to violence in the clinic. Su Yingxue's attitude had ignited an unprecedented anger within him. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 46. Grandpa asked her to save Su Yuro. When did the woman who always acted subservient to him and only had eyes for him no longer have room for him in her shining eyes? Chu Qingye stood outside the door for a moment, watching Su Yingxue in her vibrant red dress, looking sleek and confident. Her stunning face could captivate anyone. When had she started to overlook his existence, causing him to feel anxious? Su Yingxue stood by the medicine cabinet, observing Wu Jinyan. She noticed that she was not only attentive and intelligent, but also extremely sensitive to the scent of medicine, with a keen ability to identify different herbs and fragrances, particularly those favored by women. Wu Jinyan continued working, flashing Su Yingxue a smile. Do you find me more interesting than the seventh prince? Su Yingxue raised an eyebrow. Naturally. It's far more interesting for me to look at my future sister-in-law than at someone unrelated. This comment made Wu Jinyan blush, and she playfully scolded Su Yingxue. Seventh prince no longer interests you. Su Yingxue nodded in agreement. Wu Jinyan chuckled. Then who is interesting? Chuihan. That answer immediately came to Su Yingxue's mind. She didn't voice it aloud, but Wu Jinyan could still sense something from her eyes. He smiled with hidden meaning, and didn't press further. Su Yingxue rubbed her temple, her thoughts drifting to Chuihan once again. In recent days, he had unknowingly occupied her mind. He promised to protect her, and he said that if she disliked someone, he would dislike them too. Thinking about it made her heart itch, as if something was stirring inside. When Su Yingxue sent Chu Qingye away during the day, she already knew that she wouldn't find peace once she returned home. However, when she saw Su Dingheng blocking her courtyard's entrance, she took the initiative to speak. Father, if you want to meddle in the affairs of my clinic or the genius doctor, I suggest you keep your opinions to yourself and go rest early. After all, he had recently coughed up blood because of her. If it happened again, it would waste her medicine. Several strands of white hair adorned Su Dingheng's head, and his complexion was not in good shape. Even his reproachful tone was much weaker. You still dare to say that? If it weren't for that genius doctor in your clinic, Ruer wouldn't be trapped in the palace right now. A flicker of surprise crossed Su Yingxue's eyes. Really? Su Dingheng nodded with bitterness. It has been several days, and I haven't seen her even when I went to the palace. I have no news about her. If it weren't for that genius doctor entering the palace to find her, Ruer's return would be uncertain. Oh, Su Yingxue replied indifferently, pinching the space between her eyebrows. Father, I'm tired. I will rest first. Su Yingxue, do you have no conscience? She is your biological sister. How can you watch her suffer in the palace without knowing her fate and not save her? Su Dingheng's eyes turned red as he scolded her, as if Su Yingxue had committed an unforgivable offense. Su Yingxue wanted to innocently tell him that Su Yuro had brought this upon herself. However, considering her father's mindset, which had deviated from the great Qing dynasty, she spoke solemnly. Su Yuro deserved it. She tried to use the Empress to eliminate those close to me. If I haven't lost my mind, I would never trade my reputation for her release. Father, wash up and get some rest. Stop. You unfilial daughter. My words may no longer affect you. But don't you even listen to your grandfather? Su Dingheng suppressed his anger and handed Su Yingxue a handwritten letter. It's a letter from your grandfather. Handle it as you see fit. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.